I had one paper published before I even had my empirical data. Now, out of my empirical data, I've also submitted another paper that is now under review. Once it is accepted, the university can allow me now to go ahead and do my final defense. So start early. How do you start early? Because somebody would ask, I don't have data. How then do I start planning early? Yeah, we are coming to that. Don't worry about it. But today we are talking about publication. How do I prepare a paper for publication? How do all those things? I think maybe not all, but some of those questions will be answered today. As I said again here, I'm just here to give you certain tips. I might not know everything. I might not know. There's no one way of doing these things. I know there are people here who have published papers. We all have different experiences. So we will share those experiences. I will also want to learn from other people, even as I lead this conversation. Now, there are those who think that writing is hard work. I don't know whether there's anybody who wants to share their experience. Do you feel like writing is hard, or is it just something easy? And if you feel it's a hard job, why do you think writing is hard?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone. I just want to share my experience.
Yeah.
I'm just submitting my proposal.
Yeah.
But I've already sent 2 papers for publication. And then the third one, probably by end of this week, I'll send. So the issue here is, as you write the proposal, you should be able to identify your topics for publication. So what I've been doing, when I see if, like, for example, the third one I'm working, those are 3 variables, but they are all under systematic literature review. So when I'm reading, I'm trying to write the proposal, I'll do them concurrently. When I get the literature here, I take it there. So by the time I submitted my proposal for examination, I now come back and do a systematic literature review. So the issue here is about consistency. And then what's your purpose? What do you want to achieve, right? Writing is not hard, but when you are disorganized, it becomes very hard, right? So when you have organized your literature very well, according to what you want to write a paper with, then it becomes very easy for you to identify the themes you want to write under that paper. So then you begin apportioning your literature according to that. So it becomes much more easier to write when you know where the source is and what you want, right? So the issue is just being organized from day one, right? What you want to do. That's the most important thing, because you cannot write what you don't, and then you cannot write what you cannot quote. So the issue starts from day one where you start from. Then the other thing is, there is a problem we have that most people believe that is the supervisor to tell you what to do, right? So any progress you make, you don't just tell a supervisor that I'm writing a paper, right? Me, what I do, I show them the progress. I say, this is the paper I've written, right? Most cases, you only when you have finished writing the paper, then you send to them. They look at it, and then they make changes to it. And they'll be much more happy that actually you are putting much more effort to move ahead. And if they want to change the topic, they will change it, right? But after you have demonstrated that there is some progress you have made, don't just tell them what to do. So for me, as you talk right now, even a policy brief I've already submitted. So I'm meeting all, before I even go for data collection, I've met all the requirements they want. It's only a part now submitting a dissertation, and then the result, then you defend. That is it. So the issue here is, you just need to learn your game and you get to it. Because when I wrote the first paper I wrote, the first through it, it was just very fake. But through their guidance, they will tell you that when you are writing this. Then the other thing, you attend online courses. There are many courses you can do. You can go to Coursera. You can go to Elsevier. You just attend those courses. Sometimes I can spend 1 hour, 2 hours. You are done with the whole course. So the issue here is consistent. And then this thing of relying on others, most cases people believe I need to get so and so and so. Yes, but you must be in charge of the process. Even if you are to seek advice from others, you must be in charge of what, because people can even come and confuse you, right? And then totally lose track and you get demoralized. But when you're in charge of the process, you don't lose track, right? Then the other thing is communication. Like most cases, get a routine way of communicating with your supervisors. Me, I can disturb them at any time. I call this one for specific things. I say, I have a challenge here. What do I do? Just mere talking to them, it will help you to understand that actually this is what is required, right? Now, I had a challenge with to people say, you must bring out the hook in the paper. I think that's what Outa was trying to. So if you have a friend and your wife is trying to tell you about that friend, what should you talk about? It's actually trying to tell you that when you are starting writing a paper, there's what you call a hook. It took me time until I did some search. How do you write a hook? Then now, finally, I got it from the Journal of Academy of Management. I found it very clearly, well stated how we should derive it. And today is not a problem to me to write it. I can even write it off head. As long as if I've read the literature and I know the problem, the trading issues in that area, I can write it off head, right? So the issue here is get down, stop this mentality that I need to get so and so. I need to get so and so. Accept to pass through that tiny hole of the needle. And once you cross it, everything becomes easy for you. So as our brother Outa is talking about this thing, he's trying to demonstrate what he has done, but the game is up to you, right? It's a game up to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James, for that. And thank you for, I think what you have highlighted so much is you should be in the driver's seat. Your supervisor can push you, but only to a certain extent. As a supervisor, for example, I'll just give you an example. If I'm supervising you and I see like you want me to tell you everything, you need to start writing a paper. I think you need to do this. You need to do, at one point I'll just get tired. It's your PhD, not mine. It's your master's, not mine. I have mine. I have my PhD already. So be the one initiating these things. Go to your supervisors, ask them, hey, I'm in the process of writing a paper. I think I'm sending you a draft tomorrow. Once I have that, it's easier for them to guide you using a draft than just guiding your idea that you are wishing to start. Now, also, James has brought it out that he has sent out systematic review papers. That's what I did, but mine was, I did like a review for the entire topic, not objective-wise. But then go and confirm with your supervisors and ask from your university whether they will count that as part of the publications out of your thesis. Make sure it is linked to your objectives, like completely linked to your objectives, so that you don't have to convince them. If you are doing about aquaponics and you are doing a systematic review about cage aquaculture, and then you want to force them that there is a publication you did during your PhD, they will say, fine, you published that during the time you are doing your PhD. But how is it linked to your PhD work? So those are the things, but make sure you go and ask your supervisor, ask the university. Be sure, ask them, hey, I want to do systematic review, or I just want to do a scoping review. I want to do a review work out of my proposal. Is it possible? Will that be counted, or does the university count that as part of the publications out of my PhD, because I want to do something from my exact PhD work? So that when you now have data, when you have done your empirical data, you've analyzed, you are now pushing like a second paper, or you are pushing you could even have already, like James has said, he has already met the qualifications already. So just be tactical about it. Don't wait until you have collected all the data to start, because then you will have to wait for 1 year, sometimes 6 months for this paper to be published, and it will be too late. So these are things I'm just but then the other thing that also James said, that writing can be hard if you've not planned it. So plan yourself very well. We are going towards that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the introductory part. how many papers have you published? Maybe you can put in the chat. 0 is also a number. So just put in the chat so that we also get to understand. And I think one of the things I also keep saying here is we are all here to learn. So if you've never published a paper, I think that's one of the reasons why you are here. Okay, if you've never published a paper, or if you published 70 or 5 or 10 papers, what's the problem with that? There's no problem. I think that's why we are here, to share our experiences. There are those who have never published, there are those who are in the process of writing their first manuscript, there are those who have published 17 papers, there are those who have never published completely. So it's not a problem. We are all here. Yes, somebody has published as a 6th author. Why not? You are part of that authorship. It goes into your CV. So even if you've never published a paper, no problem. That's the reason why we are here, so that we get to know how then do I structure a manuscript. And then I'm also going to share with you, just flash through a manuscript just to see the structure of what it looks like. So if you've never published a paper, no problem at all. We are never born with these papers published. There is always, that first time you start. And if you've never published a paper, I was just like you until 2014, when I graduated after my master's, I published. This was my first ever publication out of my master's thesis. So I don't know the feeling, but those who have published can tell you how it feels when you publish your first paper and you get a link and you are told you can access PDF version of this paper through this link. And the problem with this is I published this and it was hidden behind a paywall, so I could not access. That's also another story that we're going to talk about, open science. But then, you cannot access your own paper even after publishing it. But then also, however much you publish, you must keep practicing to improve your writing skills, like any other skill. If you know how, if you go to a driving school and get your license, and you stay at home for 10 years or 5 years without ever trying to drive, your skills will not be, you are not going to hone your skills. So the best thing is you must keep practicing. They say practice makes us perfect. We might not be perfect, but you have to keep practicing. So you have to keep writing. You learn by writing. If I look at sometimes I look at the first manuscript that I wrote. I look at my first publication. Sometimes I read it and say, okay, I think I just wrote a very shoddy introduction. This one was not really tied together. My discussion and my interpretation of these things, maybe it was still a bit loose. But then over time, when you now sit down and start writing these discussions, you write all these things, you get to realize, hey, I think I'm getting better and better. So keep practicing. But remember, in science, the credit goes to the one who convinces the world, not to the one to whom the idea first occurs. I will read that again, that Sir Francis Darwin said, that in science, the credit goes to the one who convinces the world, not to the one to whom the idea first occurs. So you're not publishing, you're doing a very good job as a researcher, but you're not publishing anything. If somebody publishes your work ahead of you, I know you will go around lamenting, oh, he took my idea. But then if he convinces the world ahead of you, credit will go to him, not to you. So the idea might have come to you first. But if I publish ahead of you and convince the world about this idea ahead of you, credit will go to me. How then do we convince the world about our work? It's about publishing. Okay. Now, I will most of us know, but those who do not know, that after you have, we are going to know how to, select the first, the right journal selection strategy. How do you select the right journal for your manuscript? But that will come once we have the manuscript developed. You cannot select. Sometimes it's difficult before you have the manuscript. But then what happens, and that's why I was telling you that it takes a long time and you don't want to be waiting for that long before you start the process. After publication, this is the procedure, and it's just in a very short part of it. So as an author, you prepare your manuscript and submit it. So you submit your manuscript. The editor, so an editor is assigned to your manuscript. I am currently an editor for 2 journals. One of them is PLOS ONE, and also I'm an editor with aquatic foods in the Frontiers Aquatic Foods. What happens is an editor is assigned the manuscript. So there could be general editors, but also section editors for the different subject areas. So when this editor is assigned, the editor does like just scanning through the paper without really reading it in too much detail. Then the process of looking for reviewers begins. So we look for reviewers. Reviewers will decide whether to review the paper or not, and that's the problem sometimes. You could find your paper can sit with a journal for a very long time because they have been trying to reach out to reviewers to review the paper, but most reviewers are declining. Why are reviewers declining? Most reviewers are declining because journals do not pay for review. So sometimes some of them charge very high article processing fees, but then they don't pay reviewers. So reviewers, when their approach to review, they will say, I don't want to work for free. After all, I'm not going to get credit for it. But we are coming to that. How then do you also claim credit for review work? I will show you all that. But then, and reviewer is assigned, then the reviewers decide whether they want to review the paper or not. So maybe 1, 2, or 3 reviewers will review your work, give comments, and then these comments are sent to the editor. So you send the paper to the editor sends the paper to the reviewers will send the paper with the comments back to the editor will send the paper to you. Then you address the comments. So the reviewers can say, fine, this paper can be accepted, but these are the suggestions or these are the recommendations for improvement. So you improve it, and then you send back to the editor. So the editor can decide whether to send this paper back to the reviewers to confirm whether you've addressed the comments or not, or the editor can decide on the accuracy of your revisions. Now, if the paper is accepted, the editor sends the paper back to you with revisions. Then the author reviews the paper and sends it back. Then possibly our second review processes have said, and then a publication. But sometimes it's not this straightforward. So sometimes your papers get rejected, and we'll talk about that again. But I've talked about what we call peer review. What is peer review? Peer review is the process for scientists by scientists. So the purpose is to filter what is publishable as science and to provide researchers with perspective. Okay, so peer review is when we talk about peers, these are people in your field or your peers basically. So people who are within your field or those who understand the subject area within which you are submitting your manuscript. So they will go through your work, give suggestions, look at it and say, okay, maybe you've done a good work, but then I think the discussion, the interpretation here, the background, all this. So they will give their recommendations just for. Now, these reviewers, the review process is not to deter you from publishing. There are people who think, that is just to deter scientists from publishing. No, it's about, there has to be some checks and balances. If we say that anything you send out there will be published without any corrections, then we could be publishing anything as science, okay? Now, where is peer review used? It is used in scientific publication. Grant reviews are also done, and also tenure promotion. So maybe sometimes when people when we apply for promotion, these reviews are always done. So what is this? Okay, so basically that is where review. But then for the purposes of this discussion, we are talking about peer review in the context of manuscript publication. You sent your paper out to a journal. The journal is going to send it to reviewers. The reviewers will ask you questions or suggest or recommend certain corrections. Then it's up to you to address them correctly. Okay. Now, sometimes when you are sending a paper out for review, they ask you to recommend reviewers, because sometimes finding reviewers is becoming a challenge, even for +1 that I work with. So sometimes you approach reviewers, they say, or sometimes they don't even respond to your emails. So sometimes when you are submitting your paper, most journals will tell you, is it possible for you to recommend 2 or 3 people that you think can review your paper, or you can recommend 3 people that you think should never even review your paper. But this is just a joke to say that sometimes we recommend people that we work with. You see, the people I recommend to review my manuscript, my friends and people we go out with. Is this scientific? Is this a misconduct, or is it okay to recommend people that you go out with? I think that's something we need to think about. But then this is just something to show you that sometimes when you are told, because then if these people are your friends, they are people you are close to, they will not give you like very objective review. So your paper might end up being published, but then somebody reads it and says, okay, I didn't expect this from so-and-so. It's because those who looked at your paper did not give a very good review because they know you. So it's one thing that I cannot really recommend but my word is not the law. I think I said that already. Then what are the constraints of peer review? Remember, I told you that you need to start early because the peer review can really be a long process. So one of them, it could be slow, sometimes 6 months, 2 years. There's a paper of ours that is 2 years into the system. It's not like we're not doing anything. You do review, one reviewer sends comments, they send it to you, you're waiting for the second reviewer to send their comments. You address all those comments, you send it back to the journal sends it to the reviewer then takes 5 months. It's a long process. Sometimes you also find conflicting views. So you have 2 reviewers or 3 reviewers, each of them has their own way of looking at things, and you have to harmonize all these things. Sometimes there's confronting theory bias. So most of the time, you could find that there are some biases based on certain theories. Then there could also be personal views. So you find a reviewer has personal views. So, you realize, hey, this is not really objective. The comment this guy is making sounds like it's personal. But listen to what this guy called Richard Horton, who is one of the editors of Lancet, had to say about the peer review process. And imagine this one is an editor. He said, editors and scientists portray peer review as a quasi-sacred process that helps to make science our most objective truth teller. But we know, so the we here is talking as an editor, but we know that the system of peer review is biased, unjust, unacceptable, incomplete, easily fixed, often insulting, usually ignorant, occasionally foolish, and frequently wrong. I'm not saying anything. So there's what we call scientific misconduct. This could range from gift authorship, where you have a friend or you have your wife or your husband and you want to gift them with authorship. So they have never participated in writing that paper, but then you want to put their names there. There's what we call redundant publication, or sometimes people call it salami publication, where you have information, where you have data, but then you want to publish this data in 2 different ways. It's the same information, yes, but you want to try and publish it in 2 different ways. That is redundancy. Then plagiarism, we know, when you copy someone else's work without giving the due credit. Then fabrication and falsification. Sometimes people fabricate data or they falsify data. And that is not only detrimental to the academia, but also, let's say you are doing a research on a drug and you falsified the correct dosages, for example, you could easily end up killing people. So that's why scientific misconduct can be really a big thing. This was in 2019. This is an example. You can imagine when you receive such kind of an email. For those who are published, you know the feeling when you say, when you receive an email that your manuscript has been accepted. So I hope one of you here, or all of us here within this year, will receive this kind of an email. Okay, so this is what I'm saying, that reviewer 1 tells you your manuscript is really interesting and well written. Then the second reviewer knocks you off and says, oh no, it's not. It's not interesting at all. But what I want to tell you, that rejection is part of the journey. It's part of the game. If a paper is rejected, most papers get rejected with very valuable comments that helps you improve your manuscript. So you can improve it and send it elsewhere, or sometimes you can improve it and send it back to the same journal. So don't be derailed or don't be discouraged just because your paper has been rejected. Rejection, in fact, in academia, rejection is part of the journey. You will be rejected. You will, sometimes you go for defense and you are told you have to go back and defend again at the same level. You're not making progress. It's like you repeated a class, but it's part of it. That's part of the journey. So if your paper gets rejected, I'm not saying it's a very nice feeling, but then you have to brace yourself. For those who have never published, I'm not telling you that it's going to be a very difficult journey, but it's not going to be a very smooth one also. So you could find, you send a paper, you think you've done a very good job, but then you're told, okay, maybe, for reasons ABC, we are not able to accept your paper. So send it to another journal. But then most of the time, most journals will reject with good reasons. They will tell you, for reason ABCD, we are not able to accept your paper. So the bottom line is of what I'm saying is these rejections can come, they can occur. So rejection is part of the journey. So don't get discouraged. Okay. Now, basically, I really don't want to go into all this because most of them we have also talked about. I'll just go straight into developing the manuscript, but there are a few things I want to get out of the way. So we need to agree that scientific writing is as much about science as it is about writing. But for some reason, we tend to forget about the latter. So we tend to forget about the writing. Okay, so our goal should be to change the mindset about writing. So many scholars collect a lot of data, conduct experiments, they write proposals, conduct experiments, collect data, analyze it, and then keep it in their computers. Or they just keep it in their offices in form of reports. So it means that we pay a lot of attention to the science itself, the data collection, the scientific part of it, but the writing part, it's a bit neglected in most cases. So we need to know that scientific writing is as much about science as it is about writing. So we need to change our attitude about writing. Yeah, that's the only way we share our ideas with the other people. Now, there's a difference in focus between the authors and the readers. So the authors are journal focused. So most authors will think, okay, I want to focus where I want to publish my paper. So I want to publish my paper in Elsevier. But readers are article focused. So readers, some readers will just get a paper and say, okay, maybe this might not be a very big journal, but let me read this paper. It sounds like it has the information I need. So readers are more article focused, but authors are journal focused. So there is this what we call publish more, read less dichotomy. Journals, authors want to publish as much as possible, but then readers want to read as less papers as possible, but get as much information as possible. So that's the dichotomy that we have. No, so as I've said already, that scientists spend their time writing proposals, planning research, undertaking experiments, analyzing data, and reading related articles. The ultimate aim of most scientists is to publish their research findings in professional scientific reports. There are different formats that we'll talk about, but that is the ultimate goal. So no scientists want to do all this work, writing my proposal for funding. I get funded, I go out there, collect data, analyze it, review literature, and then leave that paper without, leave that information without publishing it. So, the ultimate aim is to publish this paper. So what are the hallmarks of a good scientific writing? Maybe somebody can tell me. What is it that when you see in a paper, you will say, okay, I think this one is well written. So what are the hallmarks of a good scientific writing? So somebody can just unmute and say something. The hallmarks of a good scientific writing.
I think the one that is anchored the principle of science, and also the one that anchors the topic or the question or maybe the subject that this person was investigating. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment that anybody wants to add?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Erickson.
Yeah, maybe I can just add on what has been said. One of the hallmark is that the writing should portray what we call clarity. I think it should be straightforward and easy to understand. And then I can also add something called it should be objective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe the last one is what we call being concise. I think it conveys the information in the right way based on the information that or based on the findings that you're trying to maybe present before the readers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the both of you. I think you have captured all that clearly. There is nothing much to add. Clarity, brevity, conciseness, and also presenting this in a way that is not falsified. Okay, I'll just put what we have here, but pretty much everything has been said. So one of them is accuracy. You need to get the facts straight and convey them without distortion. So if you are writing, one of the hallmarks of a good scientific writing is accuracy. you must write it accurately. Just convey the facts and convey them straight. Clarity already has said your style should facilitate understanding of your meaning, not interfere. So make sure that your style of writing, and most of the time I always tell people, if you write very long sentences, you realize your writing becomes very difficult to understand. So try to break your sentences, try to write in relatively shorter sentences that are also clear. Brevity, or it should be your writing should be concise. Don't waste your reader's time and patience with wasted words. However, if brevity interferes with clarity, give preference to a clear statement of meaning. So we want to be concise, but then you realize that if you are too concise, I was telling you to try and write in relatively shorter sentences, but then you realize, I think some of my sentences are too short to convey any meaning. It's a good thing to focus, to give preference to a clear statement of meaning. Okay. Then elegance, make your prose easy to read, interesting and pleasant to the ear. Avoid lifeless verbs or cliche expressions and monotonous rhythms in paragraphs. So when you're writing science or when you're writing a manuscript, sometimes if you just try to avoid, lifeless, what we call lifeless expressions that are not really interesting to read. Okay, there are several forms of scientific communication. I'm not going to read all of them. Today we are focusing on journals. There are book chapters, there are research reviews, theses and dissertations, conference papers, annual reports, all those. But today our focus basically is on journals. Okay, so we want to start with the journal article. Okay, so there are several, the main possible outcomes of a journal review process. So if you send out your paper for review, the main possible outcomes could be accept, which is mostly rare. Rarely do these journals accept papers without any revision. If you are dealing with a journal that, if you send a paper today, I don't know, maybe somebody can give us their experience. You send a paper, and then after 2-3 days, there are people who have told me, you are told your paper has been accepted for publication, that you just need to send money. No one has reviewed that paper, or they have just done like editorial work, just saying put is instead of are, just, editing a few things here and there without really reviewing the content itself. Then you are dealing with a paper, probably you are dealing with what we call predatory journal. But most of the time, you are told to review, revise, and resubmit. Okay, so it means that your paper is interesting to them, but you need some changes. Then they can also reject with an offer of resubmission. So they will tell you, okay, we are rejecting this paper as is, but you need to rework on it. So it means that is where we talk about major reviews. Okay, and then sometimes it's just rejected. So sometimes it's rejected because of inappropriate venue or questionable quality. So sometimes they reject papers not because your science is not sound, but sometimes they reject papers because maybe it is beyond the scope of their publication, or yes. So the general aspects and steps guideline for producing the journal article, depending on the journal, or depending on the journal you are submitting to. Basically, we have a title, an abstract, an introduction, materials and methods section, results and discussion, and then conclusions and recommendations and references. We will see all this, but it depends on how the journal expects you to structure your manuscript. So there's always a section. Every journal has a section that is called instructions to authors. So that is where you go and check how you need to structure your manuscript. Now, let's start with the title. And you remember yesterday we talked about a title yesterday. There's not any much difference between the title you have here and the title you have in your proposal, because pretty much it's the title anyway. So it's the label, it's the label of your research. So it sums up your work in a single phrase or sentence. It is important because it is read by the largest number of readers. Your title, the title of your paper is read by the largest number of readers. So there are those who will read the actual paper in the journal. There are those who are reading it in the abstracting or indexing databases. So it should be informative, specific, and concise. Okay. It is the label it's the level of your article and it's the most read element. I think I talked about it. It should be brief and should have as few words as possible. If possible, less than 20 words, and it should be informative. So it should describe the contents accurately, describe the subject objectively. If you can, omit verbs. It should be easy to understand, and it should be suitable for indexing. Don't promise what is more than what is in the paper in your title. So sometimes you find people in their title, they are promising, they have just done some maybe gene isolation, they have DNA isolation and stuff. But then now they are doing, they have promised to that in their paper, they have also done like gene sequencing and all these things just to attract people to their paper. People get disappointed when they don't find that information. So make sure that your title describes exactly what is contained in the paper. Otherwise, people will get disappointed. And once people get disappointed, researchers are funny. They will be seeing your papers and just saying, that guy does very shoddy work, so there's no need of reading his papers. But remember, you are publishing so that you can also grow. So you can also enhance your citations, your H index, for example, as we will see. Then there is always a feeling that you need to omit verbs. I've never gotten a very strong explanation for this, but I've seen it in several articles talking about scientific writing, that in the title, if you have a verb, try to convert it into a noun. So instead of investigating, you would change it into investigation of, or determining, you would convert it into determination of. I've never had a very strong explanation why, but then there's always that recommendation that if you have verbs, then try to convert them. Do not promise more than what is in the paper, and also cut unnecessary words like some notes on, or avoid abbreviations and jargon. Sometimes people write a lot. Jargon basically is not like a complex word, but a jargon is a word that is specific to, and that is used in a specific area. So if you're in the field of law, there are certain words that a fellow lawyer will understand because that's your jargon in your field, but then someone from a different field will not understand. So if you are writing a paper and the title has a scientific name, for example, or a certain jargon, make sure you write a common name or an English name that everyone else knows, and then you put the jargon in brackets so that somebody knows, okay, so latex niloticus is Nile patch. Because there could be someone from a different field who is looking for information about Nile patch, but then I have a paper published on Nile patch, but the title is written latex niloticus. So they go over this paper without reading it, not knowing that it contains information about Nile patch that they are looking for. So it would only help that I put Nile patch and then I put latex niloticus in brackets, or the other way. So when you are using jargon, make sure that you accompany with a common name or an English phrase that people will easily understand, okay? Now, choose all your words carefully. Avoid abbreviations, chemical formulae, jargon, etc. A good title has few words and possibly few words possible describing the content of the paper. Now, how do we formulate the title? Just like I said yesterday, don't kill yourself to have like a perfect title at the beginning, okay? You can start with a sketchy one, just like something like a working title, just some sketchy title just for you to work with, because then at the end of the paper, after you've written everything, you must go back and look at the title again and say, based on what I have written in this paper, does this title really describe it? Okay, so you can start with some sketchy draft and then get a draft, then you could have the final title. It may not even, it may sometimes even be the last to be written, sometimes, okay? I will not go into that. Then sometimes when you are submitting papers, there are some journals that will tell you that they want you also need to submit what we call a short or a running title. They will tell you, okay, in your submission, there's a box where you put the title of the paper, then there's another box where you put the running title. So a running title, if you are required, it's better that you give that running title to yourself by yourself rather than allowing someone else to truncate it. Because if you don't provide it, you will find that the journal might end up truncating it at a point that makes no sense at all. But because you did not provide it, they can try to come up with it. So a running title is basically just a short title. It's like a summary of your own title. like the example here is, if the title is Growth, Yield, and Quality Response of snap bean plants to different inorganic fertilizer application regimes, the running title, the short title could be Response of snap beans to inorganic fertilizer. So this is just a summary of the title. I don't know why some journals insist on this, but then if you find that there's a journal that insists that you do a running title or a short title, provide it. Then after the title, we have the authors. So the authors, an author is one who takes intellectual responsibility for research results being reported. So that's why we're talking about gift of authorship. If you find sometimes there are people who, if there is no need, don't allow yourself to appear on a paper if you have not participated, because you might end up embarrassing yourself. If you know you cannot take intellectual responsibility for the research results being reported, just tell them, hey, we can publish another paper. Maybe I didn't contribute enough to this paper, so I don't think I have to be part of it, because you will meet somebody at a conference and they have read a paper that bears your name, and then they start engaging you on the subject matter of that paper, and you have no idea what is going on there. I hope you can see where I'm going with this discussion. Okay? So it's a vital matter, and perception about contribution and cooperation. So people think about contribution as a reason for the authorship, and sometimes cooperation. So we have cooperated and worked together. That's why we are both authors here. That's why we are all authors here. No general rule for the number of authors. I have seen papers that are parts of projects, and you find a paper has 25 authors. Okay. Now, the recent trend is that increasing number of authors has been there. So because most papers are now, most research projects are multidisciplinary. They're also multi-institutional. So you find there are people working on a project, and there are like 7 of them or 8 of them. So mostly you will see that if a paper is as a result of a project, sometimes you find there are more authors. People write also, you could find single author papers, but there are not so many. Yeah. Now, authorship is often defined by contribution and prestige. So how much have you contributed for you to be author number 1 or author number 2 or author number 3? But maybe somebody can tell me, how do you decide the sequence of authorship, that who becomes author number 1, who becomes author number 2? How do you make that decision? Can someone tell me? You can also type in the chat, but then how do you come up with that decision? How do I arrive at that decision? Hello? Yes.
Yes, I have something a little bit to add to that.
Yeah.
I've written for Minister of Education before, so I wanted to say a few things about my experiences. One of the observations I had is if you are writing science, these days, it is better to have several of you writing, because the issue about acceptability of the facts, and the fact that you have to do a lot of references. When you are several authors, it is easy to justify mistakes, and it is easy to create credibility, because the science you have written is something that has already been looked at by your colleagues. The authors have agreed that these facts can go into the manuscript. So at the peer review level, you have less work, in the sense that the reviewer is not likely to find a lot of holes in the manuscript, because of the fact that several of you were the writers. You are renowned writers, so at least you agreed that these are the correct facts we can submit for review in the manuscript. So that's point number 1. The other one is when you're writing science, in most cases, you'll have to include diagrams and illustrations. In my view, diagrams and illustrations, they are those that you failed to put in the written word. So that makes it is typical for science to have diagrams. If you don't have diagrams in science, most likely you are writing social science. That's my belief. Now, the point comes that a diagram or illustration you have there must have its relevance. to the chapter, to the section you're writing. Relevance in the sense that it should add those points that you were failing to put in the written word. If it can't do that, it is not carrying its usefulness. It's not necessary because you want to confuse the reader. How does the diagram relate to the chapter? You haven't said enough. So that's the difficulty of writing science, that diagrams are always there, but how to connect them to your chapter, to your written word. There has to be that clear perspective why this diagram has become necessary. If you just put a diagram without saying something, in fact, without fully exposing it, it becomes more or less like a unnecessary baggage. In my view, you have to add diagrams, but spend more time connecting it to the story before you move on. That's the second point I wanted to raise. The third one is the fact that reviewers would like to see a connected story. In most cases, it is easy to write science in a connected way. If you've got the title, like you said, the title must say also, I agree with what you said, yes. But the next thing after the title is you should have certain aims and objectives at the back of your mind. What are the objectives? What are the aims? So that each objective will carry its own section. And when you're writing, you will actually notice that you are going out of the objective. So that puts you on a control. Each time you try to break out of the context, the object will tell you are no longer talking about the subject, you have moved to another objective, sorry. So at the back of your mind, I think good authors must always have their aims and objectives for each section, whatever chapters or section you have. I'm not saying these aims and objectives should appear in your manuscript, but they should be at the back of your mind to tell you that now you are going out of your objective or out of your aim. That way you're already creating controls that make the work of your reviewer much easier. In most cases, if you are lucky enough, you may get your work approved by the reviewer in 1 or 2 drafts. I remember last time when we were writing, it was so painful that we were actually 10 of us writing more or less on the same chapter, but shared different sections, different objectives. Now, we thought that we were good enough to put up something on the first attempt, but that wasn't true. What happened was that after we submitted it to our reviewer, who happened to be from Finland, a very experienced consultant on writing books, each time we submit our drafts, first draft rejected, second draft rejected, fifth draft rejected, eighth draft rejected, until we started crying. What's happening? Is it the English or the science? We don't know. Or what is wrong? We asked him. We noticed that he was looking for very small things like how smooth the writing sounds and how pleasant it sounds to a reader. No, so at the 10th draft, suddenly accepted, and we felt relieved. So I think these are some of the things I wanted to mention. I don't know how helpful they are. Thank you very much.
They are quite helpful because I think, as I said, we are here to also share our experiences. We have different experiences, and there are several things I think you have alluded to. Of course, some of them we will discuss also later on, but you have brought to the fore a lot of things. And one of them is that the more number of authors you have, then the better the chances of your paper being looked at favorably, because they will say, okay, these are 5 people, 6 people. There are chances they have filtered through what they are submitting to us, rather than if you're just one person, a reviewer looks at your paper and says, This is just one guy who sat down somewhere and thought he had something to present to us. So we really have to really dig deep into this, whether there's content here. So that's one thing that I think you brought out. The other thing that you also brought out, and also collaborating with other people is also important, because then it also, when somebody reads your papers, they see how international, for example, your publications are. So if I see, okay, you're publishing with people from Uganda, publishing with people from Rwanda, publishing with people from Korea, for example, then we see, okay, this is a scientist who is working with other people. So that collaboration is important. You've talked about the aim, having that at the back of your mind. It really guides you, because it's like the compass. I don't know, it's called compass or compass, whatever it is, that gives you direction. When you veer off and you are supposed to be writing about the efficiency of a certain system, and then you end up talking about something else, then you say, okay, wait, that sentence, no, that's not what really I'm talking about. So it goes into that. Yes, Andrew.
Yes,
okay, so
maybe just a brief one, eh?
Yes.
Among the, okay, I'm trying to look at the determinants in the order of authorship, or some of the factors that influence that. Maybe I can just add that one of them is the contribution level. You will find that perhaps there is someone who is more proficient in that field and is taking that active lead. So definitely is going like to be the number one, or to coordinate the rest. And then number two factor is agreement, because there must be a harmony in what they do. So they need to sit down and agree who is taking this and who's taking that. And number three is the subject topic, because maybe we cannot be talking on the issues to do with the mental health, and then somebody deviates to maybe like another topic, to let's say climate change. So there must be harmony, they agree on that, and then maybe there is that division of roles, who is going to take this chapter or so forth. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that. And I think you brought it out very clearly about the contribution and the authorship, because then we want to see how much have you contributed, so that you are part of this paper. Okay. So I think there are a lot of ways in which this is done. And I have also had students saying that, you know, I'm publishing a paper, I have to add my supervisors as authors. But then there's one of these supervisors who has never done anything. They have never read my work, they have never given me corrections, but then they insist that they have to be part of the authorship. Now, these are some politics that we deal with sometimes as students, and especially in the African context, because sometimes you don't, if you refuse to add them as part of the authorship, do I need to complete that sentence? I don't need to. So sometimes you end up just, you know, allowing them to be there, knowing very well that they didn't do anything. So it's quite a bit. But then my bottom line is, if somebody tells you that they want you to be part of a publication, make sure you understand what is in that publication. Okay. As I said, you will meet me at a conference and I say, yeah, I saw the paper you did on Helpage. Yeah, that was some good paper. Okay. So then you start, you know, having that back and forth about the paper you published. And then I realize, hey, this guy knows nothing about that paper. Then there's a way I will start now looking at you. You know, I'll perceive you differently. I'll say, okay, maybe this guy was just so that you don't embarrass yourself and also put your reputation on the line. Try as much as you can to only be part of authorships in papers you can take responsibility for. But University of Sheffield try to come up with a method. I'm not saying this will work with us, but it's somehow a method that they have tried to say that in terms of intellectual contribution. So the author, the first author, or whoever came with the idea, or whoever the team has agreed to be the first author, now can score the contributions of each author like this. So the first contribution is about intellectual contribution. How much did this person contribute in terms of intellectual contribution? So we can give them a marks from 0 to 25. Under those, so intellectual contribution, there's the practical input, like data collection and preparation and all those things. Then there's practical contribution input in terms of assistance after data collection, so data processing and analysis. So you give them from 0 to 25. That's what we call special contribution, just like that. And then at the end of the day, all participants are evaluated. The condition for authorship is that you must have a minimum of 25 points. So you must have contributed a little bit. In all the 5 sections, you should score at least 5, 5, 5 in each section. Now, if you have anything less than 25, then we can carry the number of points to our next manuscript that will be published by the group, and then we can talk about that. Then after the authorship, I'm going to show you all this in a manuscript that we developed. I'm not saying it's the best manuscript, but just so that for those who have never published, they can see what a manuscript looks like before it is submitted. Then after the authors, then we have the address. So this address is where basically just give the address where the work was done to give credit to the institution or department, or the current address where the authors can be found at the time of the publication. So basically we want to know these people, where are they affiliated? Maybe he's so-and-so, he's affiliated to Maseno University, so-and-so affiliated to Makerere University, or so-and-so affiliated to the University of Ibadan. I said University of Ibadan because of certain reasons, but yes, it's a place I like for reasons I will not say here. But so mostly the author address and then what we call an email address. There's something I want to ask. Who is a corresponding author, and must the corresponding author always be the first author? Somebody can say that briefly? Who is a corresponding author, and must the corresponding author always be the first author?
In normal practice, the first author is always the corresponding, but it's not necessary that it must always be the first. Someone even at the end can be the corresponding author.
Okay, so basically the corresponding author is the one who is like the bridge between the authorship, the other authors, and the journal. So when a comment comes from the author, from the journal, then this corresponding author now tells the other authors, okay, we have comments, let's address them so that we can return them. The problem comes in when you have a first author who is a professor or is too busy and receives too many emails that, some of these emails can easily slip through the cracks, and then the journal will be waiting for you to address the comments, and those comments are not coming, and you don't know what to do. So what happens is, make sure that the corresponding author is somebody, one, who understands the subject, and also somebody who can respond to emails and can alert you. Okay. Then after the address, we always have what we call the abstract. An abstract is, most of them are short, and depending on the journal, sometimes you find some journals will tell you the abstract has to.
Please, sir.
Yes, please.
Okay, I have a question, sir.
Yes.
For example, if my PhD thesis is under a project, but I'm the one who is really invested in the work, but my supervisor is the project manager. But he decided to be the corresponding author, but he was not really invested in the work. How can we manage that kind of issue?
The corresponding author basically is just the person who can be contacted either by the journal or by someone else who wants to understand whatever is going on. Sometimes these supervisors will feel like maybe we've tackled a very difficult topic, and maybe the student I'm dealing with might not really have like a complete grasp of the topic. So if somebody reaches out to them on this, maybe they might really not be. So for this paper, I would want to be the corresponding author, where if there are any questions about the data or any questions that would arise out of the publication, then they will reach out to me. It could be as a result of selfishness as well, but it could also be as a result of them maybe feeling like they want to be in charge of the communications. But sometimes it's as a result of selfishness, sometimes. So as I said, dealing with supervisors can be a very difficult thing. We are in, maybe for those of us who, I don't know whether it's just in Kenya, sometimes dealing with supervisors can be very difficult because you are walking on eggshells sometimes, because sometimes you are told to do things you are not really comfortable, but then you start asking yourself, do I really want to get into that war with this person? Because you're also trying to graduate. So you stay, okay, professor, whatever you say, I have no problem. So sometimes we end up accepting this. Sometimes it's difficult, but I've never seen where it's possible to have more than one corresponding authors. In most cases, I can't say whether it is correct or not, it's allowed or not, but I've seen in all cases that I have seen, I've always seen one corresponding author. I'm not sure whether it is possible to have two. That I won't say it's yes or no, but I've never seen. So that is the answer. So dealing with the supervisor can be tricky. So just find your way around it. But we cannot really know the reason why they insist they want to be the corresponding author, even though they did not contribute so much. So that could be. Now, let's talk about the abstract. Depending on the journal, the abstract can be short. So sometimes 150 words. Some journals will even allow you to do up to 350 words or 400. But let's keep it around 150 to 250 words. And the abstract should stand on its own. So if your abstract falls out of your entire paper, I might not get a lot of details about your paper, but I should be able to get a bit of an introduction. I should be able to get a bit of materials and methods, a bit of the results, and a bit of an interpretation of that result. So yes, Franklin, keep it brief.
Yeah, greetings, good morning, hi everyone. Yes, I just wanted to react with respect to the issue of corresponding author to say that sometimes it depends on the journals, because I've published with some journals which can accept multiple corresponding authors, like 2, 3, but there are some journals that stick only to one. So it can really depend at the level at which you want to publish, where you want to publish the article, and the journal principles. Thank you.
Thank you, Franklin, for bringing that. So the answer is then from the answer we are getting from Franklin here that there are some journals that will allow you to, it's now journal dependent. There are those that will allow you to have more than one corresponding author, but some will only say will restrict you to one corresponding author. So you check if the journal allows, then do what the journal allows you to do. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. So now, the abstract, as we said, is like, a summary of the entire thing that you did. So when I read your abstract, I need to see a little bit of an introduction, a little bit of the methods that you used, a little bit of the main results, and a little bit of an interpretation, and maybe a little bit of a conclusion, okay? In very short words, in very few words. Now, depending on the journal, sometimes the abstract can either be structured or unstructured. A structured abstract will expect you to write very short headings like introduction, write 2 lines. Methodology, write 2 lines or 3 lines. Main results, write 3 lines. Discussion, write another line, and then write another line for conclusion. If it is structured. But if it is unstructured, then it's just one full block. And you make sure the information flows in that way. So you write a little bit of an introduction, write a little bit of, you can even write you can even tease the problem up there. Maybe write an introduction as a problem. So write one sentence just teasing the problem, then write another sentence talking about the justification why that study was done, and then write a little bit about the methodology that was used generally without going into too much detail. Just write a general methodology that was used, and then write the main results that came out of that, write the main interpretation of those main results, and write like a conclusion at the end of it, and maybe the main recommendation. Okay, so you don't waste a lot of words, but make sure that all that is in there. Okay, so go through the instruction to authors section of your manuscript of the journal, so that you know whether they want you to do a structured questionnaire, a structured abstract, or one that is not structured. Okay, in the abstract, you are supposed to present findings as hard facts. So here, you are not supposed to go around writing a lot of things. Imagine you have 250 words to summarize your entire paper of maybe 20 or 15 pages. Okay, now know that in the abstract, there is no reference to literature. So you don't start citing in the abstract. There are no abbreviations that cannot be explained in the abstract. There are no reference to tables and figures. So we are not going to read in your abstract as shown in figure 3 below, or you are going to put figure 1 or table 3 in the bracket in the abstract. Then there are no conclusions that are not substantiated in the paper. So don't do that in the abstract, okay? What are the common mistakes that people make in abstracts? Sometimes you find people writing using different font sizes, sometimes duplication of words, sometimes punctuation errors, poor grammar. There are some people put references in the abstract. Then some people use numerals to start sentences. And this is not just in the abstract alone. In your entire writing, when you are writing, don't use numerals to start sentences. If you're talking about 12 children, don't start your sentence with 1, 2 children. No, just write 12 in full. If this 12 comes in the middle of the sentence, you can write it there. But at the beginning of a sentence, don't start sentences using numerals. Unless, in your field of mathematics or maybe physics can allow you, but in these other sciences, it's not allowed that you start with numerals to start sentences. Plus, also do not start your sentences with abbreviations or acronyms. So if you're going to start a sentence, don't start with UN or start with USB. If we don't know what that is, at the beginning of a sentence, write it in full, okay? Or put a word before that acronym or abbreviation. Okay, some people also use words that do not exist or undefined abbreviations or contradictory information or all those things. So the abstract should be able to stand alone and it should be able to communicate very effectively. After the abstract, just at the bottom of the abstract, there are what we call keywords. Now, keywords often come at the end of the abstract. And some people ask me, Nicholas, how do I select the keywords for indexing? It's very simple. I always tell them, if you went on to a platform to look for the information like the ones contained in the paper you are trying to publish, what keywords would you key into Google Scholar or into whatever platform you are using? Then you'll say, okay, I would key in words like fish nutrition, I would key in words like protein source, I would key in words like Nile tilapia, I would key in words like aquaculture. Yes. So I'm not going to talk about keywords here because they are used for indexing. So you make sure that at the end of the abstract, think about the information contained in the paper you are trying to publish and ask yourself, if I go into an indexing database, what keywords would I key in to get information like the ones contained in this paper? Not going to introduce that a lot. There's what we call the introduction. So after the abstract, then we have after the abstract and keywords, we have the introduction. I want to ask you, and maybe just in a short while, if today, if there's a car, let's say this was a physical training. For a moment, let's think of this as a physical training, and we are sitting in this hall, and I'm telling you, I come here and tell you that there's a bus out there. I want us to get into that bus. There's somewhere we are going. I didn't tell you about this yesterday. I'm just telling you this morning, and I'm just telling you now. Everyone get out and get into that bus. We are going to town. There's something we are going to do in town. What questions will you ask me? Anybody? What questions will you ask if I just walk into this hall now and tell you, hey, there's a bus out there. Please get into that bus. We are going to town. Yes, Kefa.
No, thank you. I will want to know what we are going to do, because already you've given us the location. If you didn't have given us the location, I'll ask, where are we going? What is the purpose?
Yeah, so you told us you are going to town. What are you going to do in town? Because you didn't tell us anything. Or for how long are we going to be in town? What part of town are we going to? All those things. Why didn't you even tell us yesterday? I didn't carry the right shoes for walking in town. All those things. Now, let me also ask you, and this one I want a lady to answer. You have been dating someone for some time, or your friend has been dating someone, and then they get to a point of what we call introduction. So you are trying to introduce this person to your parents, for example, before they get married. What questions do you think your parents will ask, and what information do you think this person should give to their parents as they introduce you to them? Ladies in the house, are there any ladies represented here? I don't want to point names and mention fingers. Okay, it's the other way around. Any lady, you are going during an introduction, what do you think the parents of this person you want to live with will ask? Yes, Josephine.
The parent will ask, what is the person doing?
What does this person do?
Yeah.
What else?
Where he comes from.
Where does this person come from? What does he do for a living? Any other lady?
where you met him.
Where did you meet this person, or how did you get to know this person? We would want to know, how did you get to know this person? Okay, I met him when I was in prison, and yeah, he had just killed someone and he was brought in there. Okay, imagine you are giving that kind of information. But anyway, it's about where did you meet this person? What do they do for a living? Or the reason could be, they could even ask, why do you think this is the right person for you to live with? For how long have you known them? Okay? Now, it means that when you are going to do this introduction, there's some information you need to provide so that you avoid those questions. So you know already that when I'm going to introduce this person, I'm going to tell, okay, this is so-and-so. I met them in prison, for example, and I have decided to settle down with them because of reasons A, B, C, D, and so many other things. So when you are going to do an introduction, and then sometimes you also try to introduce just the good parts of this person. You would not want to say that I've known this person for 3 years and they have serious anger problems. What will your parents tell you about this person? And what about if you demonstrate to your parents that you don't understand this person or you don't know this person? What will they tell you? So how will they feel about this person or the potential marriage? Do you think they will support it? So the information you provide must convince your parents that, hey, this person knows this lady, or this lady knows this person well enough to want to live with them. It's the same thing with introduction when you are writing, when you are introducing your topic, or when you're introducing the content that you are going to give us. Okay, so the introduction of a paper is just like the introduction we've talked about. Okay, so you want to demonstrate to us why it is important, why you did the study, why it is important for all those things need to be there. So it's about the topic, the importance of your study, a bit of a background, and just also gives us an idea of how the entire paper is arranged. I'm going to put all this here together so that I use it for it. So the introduction defines the scope and the limitations of your work, so that somebody will not ask me when I present the results that why am I not seeing data on the total fish yield? Then I will tell you that in my background, I made it very clear that my study was not on fish yield. My study was on the fish growth parameters. So there's nothing to do with yield there. Or I don't want you to be asking me, why am I not seeing information on infants? Then I will tell you, if you read my introduction very well, you could have realized that my introduction kept talking about lactating mothers, for example. So there was no infants that I was going to study. So that data, you don't expect to find it in this paper. So the introduction should give us the scope and the limitations of your study. So in your introduction, you need to tell us, why was this thing done? What is this that is still not known? So tell us a little bit of a background, give us like a global perspective of what is happening, because then in a paper, the introduction is different. The introduction in your paper is different from the background of the study that you are doing in your proposal or in your thesis, because there you have the luxury of writing a lot of words, plus you have different sections where you are going to put all this. Remember, in a manuscript, it is in the background that you are going to talk about, put all this together. You are going to tell us, where the problem is. You are going to define for us the problem. You are going to give us a justification why you did the study. You are going to even give us the background, as I said. So you are going to give us a background, give us the problem, the actual problem, give us a justification why this study was done, show us where the gap is and why it's necessary for you to do the research. And in the introduction of your paper is also at the end of the introduction. This is where you're also going to give us the main objectives of the paper, and sometimes even hint into the methodology. So tell us a little bit of a background. Globally, these are the statistics that are there at the local level. These are the statistics that we found of the extent of the problem. Then define the exact problem very well. Give us a justification why that needs to be done. Tell us what other people have done a little bit, what other people have researched on, and what still remains unknown. Hence, your paper is there to define or provide information on that. And then give us at the end of it, say, okay, the main aim of this paper, therefore, was to do A, B, C, D. And then you can say, okay, using this methodology in this specific area. You can try to hint to us so that we know, okay, so the aim was to collect data on this using structured questionnaires in Share County. Okay? So this is an example. So here I want to study the effects of alcohol on life expectancy. Basically, that's the scope of my study. So there are three classes of drinkers that I'm talking about. I'm talking about non-drinkers. I don't know how that is a class of drinkers, but whatever it is, non-drinkers, moderate drinkers, and heavy drinkers. I will define what it means by a non-drinker. I will define what moderate drinkers do and heavy drinkers. Then it's a 10-year study, and only men were surveyed. Now, how then do I demonstrate limitations in the background so that you get to know what data to expect and what not to expect? In the background, I need to make it very clear that in this study, medical is, you just need to you make it clear that, okay, I understand that my study only focuses on alcohol, effects of alcohol on life expectancy. But I know that medical history can also influence life expectancy. However, in this study, this was not considered. Okay, or you can demonstrate that studies by so and so have shown that other factors other than just alcohol consumption can also have an influence on life expectancy. However, this current study, so you let us know what to expect and what not to expect. In this case, also women were not may not experience the same effects. So that's also something also we need to know. Okay. And also the other effects such as exercise were also not considered. So we just know, so that when you are discussing your results or when I'm seeing your results, I will not ask you, okay, how do you think exercise could have influenced your study? I will tell you, okay, that was beyond the limit of my study. And I stated very clearly when I started that, hey, I understand that exercise, medical history, can also have an influence, but my study, did not look at that. I also know that women could experience different effects, but also that's not part of. So make it very clear in your background. How do you write an introduction? Okay, so it's an important structuring mechanism because then it gives us an idea of what to follow. It helps us in announcing the topic. It is the motivation for undertaking the study should also be there. Why did you undertake the study? Most important findings in the published literature. So in the background, in the introduction of your paper is where you're also going to tell us what other people have done. So this also demonstrates that you have done literature review and such. So you can give examples of, okay, research by, so, you tell us what other people have done so that we get to understand where the problem and where the problem is. Okay? Do not write the introduction first. I know somebody will say, okay, why are you telling us not to write the introduction first? But this is where we are introducing the paper. This is where we are introducing the content, and you're telling us not to start with this one. Where do we start? Most of the time, the introduction is the most difficult section to write. Remember, you are introducing everything in that paper. And this is what should hook me as an audience. I want to read your introduction and say, this is something I want to read. Okay? So what happens is you might write an introduction and then go ahead to write the other parts of the paper. And then you come back and read your introduction and realize, hey, this one is not introducing the content in this paper at all. Then you have to pull it down again. The other thing is also, introduction is where there's a lot of literature review and literature search. So there's always that urge. The procrastination easily kicks in and you start saying, I think I'm not getting a lot of literature, so I think I can write this introduction tomorrow. So I will tell you where to start your writing your paper from, but I always discourage people from starting with the introduction. I would always want you to write the introduction after you've written a good chunk of your paper so that you go back and say, okay, do you think I can now introduce everything that I've written down there? At the back of mind, I know what the results are because I've described them. I have also interpreted them in my discussion section. I have also talked about methodology very well. Okay, do you think I can now introduce all that is down there? Then you say, okay, now let me write a compelling introduction. But sometimes you might write an introduction, and those who are published can tell you. You write an introduction, then you write the entire paper, then you come back to the introduction and realize, hey, there's quite a lot that is not aligning with this. So this is not really introducing the paper. So the main purpose of the introduction are to state the problem, the research problem clearly, establish your hypothesis, provide justification for your work, state the methods and results briefly. I've seen this as some very good authors also briefly. In fact, when you read the introduction, you already even get like a one-liner of the main questions they were asking themselves. What was that big answer? Okay, and then state the major conclusions. Describe the research objectives clearly and simply if you want your readers to be interested in your research solution. Okay? The introduction is your opportunity to explain and define your work, putting it into context. Okay? This is where you explain why your work, your particular research problem is distinctive. The introduction must include a clear statement of your hypothesis, which is like a prophetic statement based on current theory, which states that what you expect to experiment to reveal. Your introduction should include a literature review, which provides general background information about what has already been published in your research area, because this is what is going to show the gap. So how do you summarize the introduction? Convince your reader your work is important. Provide enough background information to allow your readers to understand and evaluate your results without reference to previous published publications on the topic. So I don't want to read your introduction and then go back to other people's papers to see what exactly did these other people report. I want in your introduction, I know the main findings of these people you have cited, and then try to link it to your paper. This is where you're also going to provide rationale for your study and state briefly and clearly why you wrote the paper. Okay? How do you start? You need to start broadly within your field, putting your topic into a wider context in order to orient your reader, and then you should quickly and briefly focus on your specific research problem. So let's say we are talking about food insecurity in a specific village. So let's say food insecurity could be a very big thing. Let's talk about the fact that maybe infant diarrhea management practices within a specific place. So maybe among teenage mothers. So how do teenage mothers manage infant diarrhea? As an example. So you don't just, and let's say we are doing it in a specific area, maybe in Mulkoba town, for example, or in Mulkoba informal settlements. You can't just start your introduction by writing exactly about Mulkoba informal settlements. So give us a broad field. So start by talking to us what infant diarrhea is, for example, and what are the global statistics about the number of incidences, the number of deaths, for example, the different management practices by other people elsewhere. Then you talk about your country, for example, bring the problem now home. So don't dwell so much on the broader perspective. Quickly and briefly narrow down to the exact problem that you are talking about. It forms the launching pad of the paper, and the writer should start with a hook to interest the reader. Okay? It should summarize the background research while pointing out what is lacking in the published literature. Where is the gap in knowledge? Okay? So I will share this so that you can also go and check. There are some videos on YouTube here that you're not going to watch now, but I will share. When I share the content, you'll be able to click on those links and just go and view that. After the introduction, there's the methodology part. So depending on your field of study, most of the time in our field, we call them materials and methods. So these are the materials and methods that you used in your research. So in my field, we call them materials and methods. There are other places where they are called approach or whatever, but materials and methods basically is. The aims and the general principles of the materials and methods section is to allow the readers to repeat your work for verification, and it's the cornerstone of science. Because if you are going to present certain results, I will go back to your methodology and say, okay, I've seen this person talking about as presented these results. When I look at the methodology they talked about, I don't think those methods could yield these results. So if your methods are not clear, I will doubt the results, however perfect they are. I will start doubting those results. I will say, I doubt if that methodology this guy applied could give him the results he's reporting here. Okay, so you need to be careful. Now, it enables the reader to repeat your work for verification, which is the cornerstone of science, and to judge the adequacy of the methods and the reliability of the results. So I will look at the reliability of the results based on the methods that you stated. So if you stated that you used a certain kind of analysis, for example, or you did a certain kind of experiment, and then the results you are presenting are different, and I know that those results cannot have been achieved from the methods you have told me, then I will doubt those results. Okay? One criterion is give sufficient details considering readership and their knowledge carefully. Okay? No, so you need to consider the readership and their knowledge carefully and give details accordingly. What happens is most of the time you realize that you are too close to your methods, that you assume a lot of things, and then you end up writing a methodology section that is not clear enough. So somebody picks your work and they want to do something like close to what you have done, but they're not able to repeat your work because you didn't give sufficient details, because you were too close and you assumed a lot of things. Okay. Methods are closely scrutinized in peer review. If a reviewer doubts that the experiments are repeatable, the manuscript will be rejected no matter how wonderful the results are. Be careful with the details. Your reputation as a researcher is on the line. Okay, so there's this section that is called Instructions to Authors in most journals, often provides good guidance. So always check these sections, not only to guide you on the methodology, but also just how to structure your paper in general. Okay. Now, also, when you are writing your methodology section, you need to watch out for correctness of numbers, spellings, punctuations, all these things. Now, order your information chronologically, or you need to cluster them by certain principles. So when you are writing a paper, make sure that because then the way your method sections appear is the way I expect your results section to appear, and also the discussion section. So that I want to see method 1 yielded result 1, and that is why I have discussion 1, for example. So make sure that you are not just jumbling things up. If you started by setting up this experiment and started by this, or if you started by conducting if you started by administering structured questionnaires, then you went ahead and do focus group discussions, and you also went ahead and did key informant interviews. I want them to come in that order, so that when I'm interpreting or when I'm seeing the results, I understand, okay, the first results I'm seeing, these are from the questionnaire. The second one I'm seeing, these ones are from the FGDs. This one I'm seeing, these are KII. So I want it to be in that way, okay? Use simple past tense to describe what you did. Use active and passive voices to enhance clarity in some cases. You also need to use syntax carefully. If you read a sentence like this in the methodology section, after standing in hot water for an hour, the results were examined. What questions would you ask about this sentence, this statement? If you read it, if you are reviewing someone's paper and they have written in their methodology, they are describing what they did, and they're saying, after standing in hot water for an hour, the flasks were examined. Hello? Okay, so maybe sometimes you find people are not sure of what they did. So if you say, after standing in hot water for an hour, the flasks were examined, I don't know what was standing in hot water for an hour. The flasks that were standing in hot water for an hour, or is it the scientist that was standing in hot water for 1 hour before examining the flasks? So think about those things, okay? So be meticulous. If you cannot be trusted in simple things, can you expect the reader to trust you with significant or complex ones, like the results you are going to submit to us? Check. Can a colleague repeat the experiment based on the description given, or the research generally? If the writer is often too close to the method and omits details glaringly obvious to him or her. And do not mix your methods in the results section. So the method section should be the method section. Now, the method section, as I said, requires a lot of things. This is where you are going to tell us about the study site, for example, depending on the kind of study you are doing. And it's difficult now to give a standard way of writing the method section. It depends on the kind of study you are doing. So maybe there are those who are doing surveys, there are those who are doing experiments, there are those who are doing field experiments, or maybe lab experiments, or there are those who are doing maybe sampling in lakes or sampling in forests and other places. So it's difficult for me to tie it down to a specific kind of methodology. But just the fact that you need to give enough details in your methodology section, that's just enough, depending on your field, okay? So sometimes, depending on the kind of study you are doing, sometimes you need to describe the study site, sometimes even give geolocation, and give how do you say? give justification why you chose the specific study site, describe it very well, all those things. Then the study species, for example, the materials you are going to use, the methods, the data processing and analysis also. So when it's about study site, for example, you need to consider readership and give details accordingly, georeferences, using coordinates. You can provide a map, the information on habitat, sampling sites, for example. So let's say you are going to sample in a lake. You need to tell us where that lake is, the specific points of your sampling. Why did you choose those specific sampling points? What was the depth? What was the water quality parameters there? So you need to describe all that depending on the kind of study you are doing. Okay. I think these are just the normal things that you. Now, the other thing that I also want to talk about is sometimes you are not going to, maybe you are going to do your analysis, or you are doing your experiments based on a protocol that is already out there and is published. So there's no need of starting to explain how you took 1 milligram of magnesium and diluted it with 1 million liters of water and let it stay for 2 hours. No, if you did analysis according to maybe Outa et al. 2015, or according to maybe certain standards, different fields have different standards, then you can always say analysis were done according to this person or according to this book. So you can just put the reference so that if somebody wants to get the details, they can always go there. Okay? I'm not going to talk about this, but when to write, my suggestion is that after doing everything, you need to start by, when you're writing your manuscript, start with the materials and methods section. Because this is where you're just stating how you got the results, because you cannot start writing a manuscript if you don't have the results. So for ease of work, I always tell people, start by writing your materials and methods section, because this is something you're just narrating what you did. So this is what you have. Start from what you have. Start from the known as you walk towards the unknown. The known here are just the methodologies that you used. So you interviewed people, how did you administer the questionnaire? What was the sample size? How do you arrive at the sample size? All that. So I always tell people it's easier to start with what you have. So you have the materials and methods. And it's always good to write them while still carrying out the research or while the collaborators are still around. Otherwise, small but important details may be lost. You are going to the field with people from France. They are here for a month or 2 months or a week. And then there are some modifications you did to the protocol, and then they are flown back to France, and now you are in the field, in the lab, and you are trying to write the manuscript, and you're asking yourself, okay, there's a day we went. How did we calibrate that flow meter? I don't know. What was the initial reading? Because I remember we did a calibration, but I don't remember the calibration we did, because some results here are looking a bit off, but I think it's as a result of that calibration. So, when they're still around, you can easily go and ask, oh, we went with you to the field. Do you remember what we did? Then they will tell you what happened. So try to write these things when these people are still here, okay? Then after that, after the materials and methods, we have the results section. Basically, this is why you are writing the paper. Because if you didn't have the results, you had no business writing a paper, because then what were you reporting to us? So this is the main reason why you are writing this paper. Okay, it is the key part of the article, and everything hinges on the results. Must be logical, easy to follow, and correct. And make sure that you present the results in the order in which you presented the methods, so that it's easy for me to follow. That method 1 yielded result 1. Method 2 yielded result 2. Method 3 yielded result 3. So make sure that it follows in that order. Okay? It must be logical, easy to follow, and correct. How do you do that? Start by presenting the big picture. You remember, when you are doing your research, there's one big central question you are asking yourself. You could be publishing a paper out of just one of your objectives. Maybe you have 4 objectives and you are publishing one paper out of each objective. Or you've decided, okay, there are 2 objectives that are closely related, so I'm combining them. But generally, there's just one big central question you are asking yourself, and you are seeing whether the data can be able to answer it or not. So you are looking at whether the system is resource efficient or not, whether it is water use efficient or not. So those are the supporting data that you have about water quality, about water flow rate, about the yield per liter, all those ones are. But then at the end of the day, the central question is, to what extent is it water use efficient? 20%, 30%. So start by presenting the bigger picture, which is an overall description of the hypothesis tested. And the data also show the data the results that support the claims you make. Then you need to give details of significant results, not insignificant ones. I'm not saying that if you have results that are not significant, you should leave them out of your writing. No, put them there, but give a little more details about significant results, because then these ones are a bit more pronounced. I'm not telling you that if you have results that are not significant, you should not write them. Write them, but don't give a lot of prominence to them. If a variable is not influential or a difference is not significant, mention but do not give too many details. Okay? Then use tables and figures. I think this was already mentioned. I cannot stress this enough. Use tables and figures to present processed data, okay, about differences and tendencies. Not all data need a table figure. Many results can be given in text. What you did not find. So absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So the fact that you did not catch maybe tilapia in that lake does not mean that there is no tilapia in that lake. It might mean that the method, your fishing method was not suited to catch that kind of fish. That's just an example. So I'm telling you that you don't try to force things that because I didn't find this, it is not there. Maybe your methodology could not allow you to get it. So it does not mean that it's not there, okay? But I also want to make it clear, if you use a table or a figure, make sure you refer to it in your writing. If in your results section, I'm seeing figures and figure 1, figure 2, but it's not mentioned anywhere, then I will ask myself, what is it even doing here? Because it's not linked to this write-up. There's nowhere it has been referred to. You know, as a writer, you are the one who is directing our, our attention to what to see. So when you are describing, you say, okay, as summarized in table 3 below, then now I know. So you are going just to give a little bit of the main things, and then the other things that are not really relevant, not relevant, but the other details are now summarized in a table or in a figure. So I can now, you have directed me to that figure so that I know. But if you have figures and tables and you have not referred to them, I will not know when to look at them, okay? When do you write this? You need to write it after materials and methods. So I always tell people, write the materials and methods, then write your results, okay? Do not start with the methods. When you are presenting your results, you already told us the method, so just go straight to your methods, to your results, okay? Those others you can also read. Put out significant trends and differences, facts supported by numbers. Direct the reader's attention. You remember I told you to direct our attention. If you tell me table 3, figure 1, figure 4, I know that you are directing my attention, okay? Give meaningful statistics. Sometimes you find, let me give you an example here. In 33.3% of mice, the treatment was effective. No change was observed in the condition of the other 33.3%. Then the third mouse escaped. These were only 3 mice. And we are trying to fidget around here with statistics. This is statistic, but it's not meaningful. So use or give meaningful statistics, okay? There's something else that I wanted to say, but I have forgotten it. So I'll come back to it when so remember when I was saying use tables and figures, okay? So when you use a table or a figure, give the captions, make the captions, just caption them and label them well, so that I know what this axis mean, what all this, so that I get to know what the axes are, what they mean, so that I don't read and say, okay, what is this on the x-axis? What is this on the y-axis? I don't want to do that. So make sure you do the correct labeling, and also be careful about the decimal points. All those things would be important for you. Okay. Now, the main purpose of the result section is to present your data in a manner that is easy to read and interpret. Okay. Everything reported to have been done in the method section should have an entry in the results section. Information in tables or figures should be referred to, but not repeated in the text. So you find some people have a table that has summarized a lot of things, and they are trying to narrate all that again in words. why are you doing it in text? Why did you use a table if you still wanted to present it in text? Okay. Statistics are often difficult to understand, so clearly present them. The key recommendations for good research section include, this is where the core of your work is presented, your experimental data, basically. Thus, clarity is essential since the rest of your report hinges on what you present here. So if I start thinking, twice about your research, your results, I will have a bit of issues. Okay, so I think you will also read the other things. After the results, we need to discuss, and the discussion section is where you are going to interpret the results. Why are results the way they are? Now, there are some journals that will tell you to combine the results and discussion section, so that it's one section that is called results and discussion. In that case, you will write a result, interpret it, and compare. Write a result, interpret it, and compare. Write a result, interpret, compare. But if the journal tells you that the discussion section has to be separate from the results section, then you have to present them that way. So in this case, let's assume that they expect you to write the results section separately and the discussion section separately. What goes in the discussion section? It is to explain what the data mean and compare to what others have found. Period. I don't think I even need to talk about this further than here. So you have certain results. You need to tell us, what is your understanding of the results? You found out that there's a strong correlation between variable A and variable B. Why do you think there's that strong correlation? And what did other people find? Are there if you are a bold researcher, I want to see you also citing, also pointing out to other works that do not agree with your results. Most of the time you find researchers only saying, okay, these results agree with, these results agree, but then you don't say if there are other people who got different results, or if your results are different from others, and explain why you think the results are different. Okay, so point out and compare with what others found, both those that agreed and those did not. Most rejections are due to faulty discussion. Okay, there's what we call a squid technique, where authors are unsure of what the data mean and they hide in a protective cloud. So they speculate a lot. They are too speculative. You end up finding, or it could be attributed to. So be forthright in some cases. Of course, in the discussion section, you're allowed to speculate. Sometimes if you're not sure of the correlation of the relationship or the result that you're seeing, but don't be over speculative. Yeah. This is an example. You start with a very short reminder of the purpose and the key of the purpose and the key result. So 1 or 2 sentences, then discuss what they mean. So I said, you remember when I was telling you in the discussion, in the results section, to start by presenting the bigger picture, the big picture. So paint the big picture. In the discussion section, start by interpreting that big thing. Remind us that the main objective of the study was to investigate the efficiency or the efficacy of this on this. And the results have shown us this. So that is the main result. And then now, try to interpret what that main result is before you go ahead to interpret the other results. Then start from specific and progress to a more general discussion. So this is the opposite of introduction. In introduction, you start broad, and then you narrow down. In the discussion, I wanted to start by narrowly by interpreting the current results, and then you start broadening by comparing with what other people did. That is how you do the discussion. Discussion is the opposite of the introduction. Now, in the introduction, you start broadly, and then you narrow down to the specific problem you are tackling right now. In the discussion, however, you start narrowly with the current results, and then you branch out and start broadening it to compare with what other people did. It may be the place to also confront potential critics. So maybe there is you enlisted, you are doing maybe a longitudinal study, and you recruited certain people into the study. You recruited 1,000 people, and maybe 7 or 10 of them dropped out. This is the place where you need to explain to us, because maybe in the results, we were seeing certain results that were not really easy to understand. So when we get to the discussion, we'll get to understand, okay, that's why I'm seeing N is 75 and not 20, and not N is 75 and not 100. Okay, so This is the reason why this happened. So this is the place to explain some of these things, okay? Tell the reader the limitation of the study, draw our attention to potential problems, and tell the reader reasons why how you addressed them. So maybe these potential problems and how they were addressed. One example is paragraph 1, key results, what they mean. Paragraph 2, how do these findings relate to the results of previous work? Paragraph 3 is potential drawbacks and their solutions. Paragraph 4 could be talking about summary of results and conclusions. It depends on the journal. Some journals will tell you that you have a specific section where you write conclusions and recommendations. Some will tell you that at the end. Okay, Kavina, I'll just finish this and then we have a little break and then we come back to do something else. I'll just request that we finish this and then we go for a break. I think in the next 5 minutes, I should be done. Then paragraph 4, summary of results and conclusion. And then, so also do not force what you have to say in predetermined structure. You find some people try to say, okay, this is how the discussion has to appear. No, just describe the results. Do not repeat the results in the discussion section. Do not introduce new results that are not there. Do not pretend to have solved everything. Do not finish with what we call throwaway sentences or what we call political conclusions that cannot be substantiated. Okay? Try to walk around. Do not try to walk around every possibility, especially if they are speculative. Okay? What do you do in the discussion? Present principles, relationships, discuss, do not repeat results. Refer back to the problem. Think these are things that when do you write this? Towards the end, after the results. So sometimes they may be written together. Okay? Do not combine results and discussion unless the journal allows you to do that. After the discussion, you have acknowledgements. We know some journals will put acknowledgements towards the beginning of the paper, but most of them will put it towards the end, or maybe at the end, just before the references. So acknowledgement is just thank you. So you thank people for their approval, maybe if there are research institutions that supported your work, if there's a project under which your work was done, acknowledge the source of funding or anything else. So this is a courtesy, not a surprise present. So ask people if they agree to be included. Show the wording to the person acknowledged. Sometimes you acknowledge somebody and they say, I was so pissed off in that project, I didn't even want my name to appear in any of those papers out of that project. So then you are at a loss. You thought you wanted to surprise them. So ask them, hey, professor, I want to acknowledge you in this paper. Is it possible? Is it okay? Okay. Your acknowledgement should be simple, precise. Do not wish to thank, simply thank. You find people saying we would like to thank or we wish to thank. No, thank people, don't wish to thank them. Give reasons why the person is included in the acknowledgements. Then you have appendices after acknowledgement. Some people have appendices. So maybe you had additional information, for example, maybe you had data collection tools that you want these people also to see, program code, statistical details that maybe you want these people to see. And then references. You remember yesterday we talked about references? Anything that is listed in text must be reflected in the reference list. Okay, and I've told you also how to use reference managers. I will stop that for now because then we are coming back to a second leg of this presentation. But then for now, I will stop it here. We take a break, then we come back. Thank you. If you have a question, just leave it a bit. We are going for a break of 10 minutes, then we come back. Kevina, guide us on the time. When are we coming back? I'm sharing my screen, so I'm not sure what the time is.
Thank you, Nicholas. So we are going to break for 10 minutes and resume at, if you're in East African time, it's going to be 11:15. Yes, and then in the meantime, I'm going to add the attendance list in the chat. Please just fill in your 2 names as you'd like to appear in your certificates. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's meet after 10 minutes. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I think up to there, we have had some heavy discussions. I just want to go through the how do you call it, the messages and see if there are any discussions we need to have, because we are getting into the second leg of the training, which will last us another 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours. There's quite some ground to cover. I'm just going through here just to see if I saw something that I needed to ask. There's something that somebody... Okay. Yeah, we will share. The recordings will be shared plus all the materials so that you can also be able to use them later on. The others is about appreciation. Thank you so much. I also appreciate the fact that you got the chance to find, or you found this useful. Okay, I'm just seeing. Okay, now that we have had this discussion, I'm just opening this floor for maybe some 3-4 minutes. If there is anything that somebody wants to add before we get to the second leg of the presentation. But before we get there, there's something I want to bring to your attention here. I just want us to look at what we call annotated manuscript, so that what's happening to... What's happening to this? Okay, my computer is acting up. Okay, let me just share my screen. There's something I want, even as we get into the final part of the discussion. I just wanted to share this. Remember, I was talking about how to prepare the manuscript, and now I want us to talk about, there are just a few things I wanted to talk about. These are the things, these ones now. These ones are part of what I had talked about. So think about why you want to publish your work and whether it is publishable. So have I done something new and interesting? Is there anything challenging in my work? Is my work related directly to a current hot topic? Have I provided solutions to some difficult problem? Okay. Does the paper contain sufficient new material? So this is when reviewers are reviewing your paper, these are what they look at. Does the paper contain sufficient new material? Is the topic within the scope of the journal? For example, is it presented concisely and in a well-organized way, that is? Are the methods and experiments presented in a way that they can be replicated? Are the results presented adequately? Is the discussion relevant, concise, and well-documented? Are the conclusions supported by the data presented? Is the language acceptable? Are figures and tables adequate and well-designed? Are there information duplicated? Are they too many? Are all references cited in the text included in the reference list? So these are some of the questions that these people ask themselves, okay? I'm not going into those other things, but then I want us to talk about steps to organizing your manuscript. The first thing is to prepare the figures and tables. So you are preparing to write a paper, or you are preparing to write a manuscript. You need to prepare figures and tables. You don't want to, including captions, you don't want to be in the middle of writing your manuscript, and then you have to go on the side to plot a figure, or you want to go on the side to draw a graph, or you want to go on the side to generate a table. No. I want you to prepare figures and tables and have them ready before you start writing. Then you need to write the method section. So once your figures and tables are right, go down and start writing the methods that you used. Okay? Then write up the results. After writing the methods, write the results. Then write the discussion. So the discussion can be written together with the results as we talked about, but sometimes they are written separately. But prepare the figures, write the methods, write up the results, write the discussion, then write a clear conclusion, okay, of your paper. Then now write what we call a compelling introduction, because then this is what is now in introducing all the things you've written up there. So that's why I was saying you might write an introduction at the beginning, and then you go back after writing the discussion, writing the results, writing the method, and you realize, I don't think this thing introduces my paper at all. Okay. Then write the abstract. Then compose a concise and descriptive title. You see where we now have our title. Then number 9 is select keywords for indexing. Then write up the acknowledgements, and then write the references. That is my sincere advice. If you follow that order, you'll write a very good paper. Okay? Closing advice. Cherish your own work. If you don't take care, why should the journal care? There is no secret recipe for success, just simple rules, dedication, and hard work. Editors and reviewers are all busy scientists, just like you. Make things easy to save their time. Editors like to see that you have provided a perspective consistent with the nature of the journal. Okay? Now, having come to this place, there's something I want us to talk about. After developing my manuscript, after developing my manuscript, I want to show you an example of manuscript. I think maybe there are people who have never published and they are asking themselves, how do I prepare a manuscript before I send it to publication? Somebody would think it is something that is, when you just hear the word manuscript, maybe you think it's something that is, I don't know. I don't know what you are thinking. But then let me just look for one manuscript, for example. So that maybe I give you an example of what a manuscript looks like. I think that can help. Let me just a minute. I'm checking on something just to find an example that we can use. Here I have one here. I'm just going to pick up just a manuscript at random. Okay, this one. So for those who have never published, I think we have talked about the different sections. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so that you can be able to see what a manuscript looks like. Depending on your field, I'm just going to show you an example based on so this is one of, So basically, this is the title of the paper, the authors. Remember, we started the title, then the authors, then the address, which are the affiliation. Then we have the corresponding author. Then we have an abstract here. So you see, I started with most food production systems are resource insufficient, making them unsustainable. Therefore, there's a need to explore. You see, now I started with the abstract with the problem, and then I did a little bit of a justification, and then I said this study investigated the efficiency, so I'm giving the objective of this study, and then where it was done, of course, and then a little bit of some methodology. You see, a little bit of methodology, and then the main results are also there. Then I have keywords. Then I've done an introduction starting globally. Food insecurity affects this number of people, which is 30%. So I've started globally. Then I'll talk about freshwater aquaculture now in Kenya. Just narrowing it down. I'm not going into all those details. Then I have my materials and methods here. I've talked about the experimental design, the earthen ponds, the fish, the sampling, how I sampled the fish, how I did the crops, how I determined the growth parameters and the yield, then how I did data analysis. Then the results, I've now arranged the results from fish performance, fish growth performance for each fish. Just the way, you see, I'm also using tables here to present some. I'm using some figures also to present some. Then I've presented growth. Now these are for the crops. I'm using tables here. I'm using graphs, line graphs, of course. I'm using even bar graphs, and then there's discussion. Okay, so I'm discussing my results, just interpreting all the results. After that discussion, I've done conclusions and recommendations, and then acknowledgements, and then I have my references. So basically, I know maybe I'm just presenting that because maybe there are people who have never published and they're asking themselves, what does a manuscript look like? I just hear the word manuscript. I don't know what it's just a plain document, just as I have shown you. So sometimes when you read papers that are published and they are put into very nice, they are designed very nicely, they are divided into different columns and whatever, and you think, okay, you don't have to do that. The journal will do that for you. So you just send a plain text. It's up to the journal to design it the way they design. Now, somebody has asked that I should take you through the submission. I don't know, I don't think I'm taking you through the entire submission. What I want to take you through is to how to select the journal for your manuscript, because you could have a very good manuscript, but you don't know where to take it to. The submission is a very simple thing. Once you select the journal will just guide you on how to do your submission. It's a long process that I'm not going to do. The journal is just about providing this information. Once you create an account, provide this information, upload your manuscript, so it's very easy for you to be guided. But what I want us to talk about is a journal selection strategy. How do you select the right journal for your manuscript? You have a manuscript, but you don't know where to take it to. There are several ways, but one of the most important ones that people use these days is what we call journal finders. So I will just go here. Where is my screen? I'll just share my screen and show you here. Let me just show you here. If you have a manuscript that you have developed and you are asking, hey, Nicholas, I have a manuscript, where do I submit it? There is what we call journal. Just go into your. So there are most of this, how do you call it? Most of these publishers have journal finders within their journals. Okay, so Springer, if you want to publish, if you want to find a journal that is under Elsevier, just come to Elsevier Journal Finder is here. Springer has their own journal finders. You see Wiley and Francis has their own journal finder. MDPI have their own journal finder. Journal and Find, all this. So most journals have their journal finders. Most publishers have journal finders. So if you are interested in publishing with Elsevier, as an example, let's say we want to publish our paper in Elsevier and we want to look for a journal to publish it, you don't have to worry a lot. Just come and click on Find a Journal, and it will allow you to, copy and paste the abstract. So I'll use the example of the manuscript that I have here. So you just copy and paste the abstract. So I'll just copy the abstract here, copy abstract, and paste it here. So I'll just paste the abstract there. And then once you copy and paste the abstract, you just click on Find Journals. It will try looking through the abstract you have submitted and suggest journals for you. Are you seeing the journals that have been suggested? Anybody? Now, my paper is talking about fish and vegetables because I was talking about aquaponics system. So you see, one of the journals that has been recommended. I don't know what screen I'm sharing. Which screen are you seeing? The one that has the Elsevier Journal Finder, or which one?
I'm seeing the journals, aquaculture, for example.
Okay, thank you. So once you look, because then it will give you the impact factor, the site score, the time to first decision, and then time to acceptance. It also goes ahead to tell you if you want to publish open access, how much is the article processing fee? All these things are here. See, all of them are here. Then it gives you also the so it arranges them in the rate depending on how relevant it is to the paper you want to publish. Okay, so let's say you have picked one of them. You said, okay, I've gone through and I think the one that I want maybe is this one. So you just click on Visit Journal Page or Submit Paper. But I would want you, before you submit the paper, I would want you to visit the journal page, because then when you visit the journal page, you are able now to see other things, like there is here where it has written for you open access. So if you want to publish in open access, how much does it are you expected to pay? Then you can also now sample some of the papers that they have published. But then there's guide for authors. This guide for authors will guide you on how. I will stop sharing again just to be sure that I'm sharing the right page. Okay, I just wanted to be sure that I'm sharing the right page. So you will get guided on, when you visit the journal website, you will know the guide for authors. Now, this guide for authors will tell you how to structure your paper. It will not prompt you to change the content of your paper. Your paper is just as good as it is if you think your data is good. The only thing is, this guide for authors will guide you on how to prepare the manuscript. What is the font size? What is the spacing, for example? How long should the abstract be? All those things. Or whether you should submit, you should embed your figures and tables within the main manuscript, or the journals that will tell you that we want you to submit tables and figures as separate files. So those are the things that you need to go and check. But then you can also just click on submit your article. You see here, you can click here, then you will be guided on whether you need to create an account and then submit your article. So journal finders, most of these publishers have journal finders, and it just depends on what publisher are you really thinking about. The other thing, the other idea that can guide you on how to select the right journal for your paper is are the papers that you used or the papers that you read during the time of your writing. So there are some papers that you read and they were published in specific journals. So you can say, okay, I think I borrowed quite heavily from these specific papers. Where were they published? Then you just go and check and see, okay, because it's relevant to my work, I think these people can publish my work. Now, apart from that, there's something else that I want to talk about before now we do the last part. I want to talk about what we call research visibility. Okay, you heard it right. As a researcher, you are publishing papers for several reasons. And one of the reasons is for people to see what you are doing. How do people see? Because researchers are you also want to, like in my university, sometimes people talk about the H index. When they want to promote you, they will say, okay, because they're still embracing a lot Google Scholar. Of course, Google Scholar has a lot of debates around the use of Google Scholar to gauge the influence of a researcher. But for now, that's what we have to use anyway. So like the H index, for example, you can only increase your H index, for example, if people are seeing your work and people are able to cite, download, and read your work. How do you make your work visible? I'm going to share with you certain platforms. I know most of us are on those platforms. I'm not sharing with you those platforms so that you see what I have on those platforms, but I'm sharing them with you just to bring your attention to those platforms that can make your work visible. And if you are not on those platforms, I want to challenge you to create accounts on those platforms. So I will start with a very brief presentation, and then I will go and demonstrate some of those platforms so that you also get to see them, because maybe otherwise I will be talking about platforms that you don't know. Most of them you know. So the ones that you know, what I'll do, I'll just talk about this very shortly, and then I will now go and show you those platforms so that you can also be able to see them and create accounts if you feel you need to create accounts there. But mine is to urge you to have accounts on those platforms so that you can be able to make your work more visible. People want to be seen, and if you're publishing works, everyone is trying to be visible. So people are trying to compete for visibility. So if you can make your work visible through the platforms that I want to share, then it will be very good for you. One of them is LinkedIn, of course. So if your work is visible, then people will see what you do, and people will contact you with consultancies or for projects or for jobs or whatever it is. So this is just an example. I had been posting quite a bit about aquaculture, and especially the project we were doing in Kenya on climate smart food systems. So then there's a time during COVID-19, somebody wanted data collected and they were in Malaysia and they could not travel to Kenya because of COVID-19. And because of the works they have been following me and seeing me posting on LinkedIn, they contacted me and gave me some good consultancy that I did. I did that just because of the visibility of my work. If I was doing very good research and I was doing other things and not making my work visible, maybe I could not have seen this. So mine is not, as I say, it is not just to show you what I have accomplished, because I'm just, a young researcher who is just starting out. But mine is to challenge you to, utilize some of these platforms. So that was, then we have about the H index. Now, an H index is an author level metrics that attempts to measure both the productivity and citation impact of the publications of a scientist or a scholar. So people have H indices and different platforms have different H indices. So for example, here I'm just giving you an example. So if you don't have an account on Google Scholar, go and create a Google Scholar account. Even if it's just one paper that you have, create a Google Scholar account. I'm just showing you in passing. As I say, these are things you are conversant with. Create a Google Scholar account, okay? Then there's Web of Science. So Web of Science also gives us an ID that is unique to you. So you find a unique identifier on the Web of Science that can now help you. Sometimes when you're submitting papers, you have that unique ID. Now, you can also turn your peer review work into a measurable research output. For a long time, peer review has been for free. So people have just been reviewing for free. You're not given any credit for it. Nobody does anything. But now, Pablons and also review credits. I will show you reviewer credits, how it works. So Pablons now allows you that every time you do a review, you put that review on Pablons, and then this now goes into a profile as part of your academic profile. You see? So you can easily now, when you create accounts here, every time you do a review, you can easily put that on Pablons, and then it goes into your. So you can track more of your research impact when you register and create an account on Pablons. Okay. So this one is my account on Web of Science, and just create accounts on these things. People will see you there. This is just one of the recognition certificates that I have quite a number, but I'm just showing just as an example. When you review for a journal, if they can give you a certificate, I know some people think these are very little things. I have reviewed 1 million papers and I've never even asked them for certificates. You never know. Maybe there's an organization that will advertise that they are looking for maybe a research scientist, or they're looking for director of research, or there's a project, and then you are all there. And then you just, by some chance, also as part of your application, you submit some papers that were given, some certificates that were given to you as a reviewer. They will look at maybe your submission differently and say, okay, this person is even a reviewer, so he can help us even with internal review of our articles before we send them out for publication. So don't take these things for granted. Mine is to inform you, and yours is to try and see how then they can help you. I'm not here to show you how much I have achieved. Mine is to challenge you that if you have always taken these things for granted, sometimes they will make that difference between you and someone else. Okay? Then there is what we call reviewer credit. So reviewer credits is where when you review work, you can always register it there, and you will be given a certificate that shows the number of reviews you have done. I just want to give you an example here. After that, I will go on the internet and show you all those sites and what they look like. But for now, I just want to show you what my reviewer credit certificate looks like. So create an account on reviewer credit. I will show you how to create that account and what it looks like, so that you don't blame me that I didn't show you. These are very important things for researchers. You just never know. It could be the difference between you and someone if all other things will tally, and then they will say, okay, this is the only thing that sets you apart. So you will get certificate of peer review. If somebody asks you to prove to them that you have peer reviewed work, when you create an account on reviewer credits, every time you do a review, you register with the reviewer credits. Reviewer credits will contact the journal and ask them, so-and-so has registered that they reviewed this article. Did they do it? Yes. Did they do a good job? Yes. Was the paper published or not? like that. And then now you can easily download your app. You see, you can easily download your reviewer certificate from reviewer credits, and then it has all these things. So the number of papers you have done, the number of reviews you've done every year. I've not updated it for some time, but then this is just to demonstrate to you that you can create an account where you can also get certificate for the review that you do. These things will help you, and one day you will thank me for them. So create an account on reviewer credits so that you can also get credit for reviewing scientific work. The other platform that I want to show you, I've talked about reviewer credit. I've talked about Google Scholar. The other one is ORCID. I hope most of you, if not all, have ORCID IDs. An ORCID ID is a unique identifier that disambiguates your work. So you have a researcher who is also called Nicholas Outa, who is also in the field of fishes and aquaculture. They are also publishing their papers. But then it's very easy for me to claim and say, okay, that's my paper because our names are the same. So if you have an ID, if you have an ORCID ID, it's a free place. Just go and create an ORCID ID. So when you are submitting papers, most journals will these days ask you to also provide your ORCID ID. That ORCID ID makes it clear that this is another different Outa. So you have like a unique, it provides you the unique identifier. And it's pretty much like your online CV. I will show you mine. It looks like your online CV. So every time you publish a paper, it gets there. There's ResearchGate. Make yourself also visible on ResearchGate. Why not just make yourself visible on ResearchGate, academia? Then I also use other platforms, even Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Now it's X. To publish part of, to post part of the work that we do, not into too much detail, but just hinting so that people are aware of pretty much what you do. Then there's what we call an About Me page. I know there are people who have not, it's like your own website, a small mini website where if somebody asks you, okay, Nicholas, I want you to send me a short bio, like a bio note. You just send them the link and tell them, hey, I have my bio note on this About Me page. Just go and check it out and maybe pick the information that is relevant for what you want it for. Then there are preprints like Africa Archive. This one I will not put a lot of information on this. I just want to go ahead and show you some of these sites so that you see exactly what they look like. Then I will allow you to ask questions before we now get the last part of the presentation. But I'll just do this not in a very, I will not take a very long time trying to show you these ones. So I will start by showing you, so all those sites that I've talked about, because I could be talking about them, but I don't have accounts there. I just want to demonstrate to you that I have the accounts that I claim to have, so that you can also be challenged after this. Go and create those accounts. This is my Google Scholar profile. I think the highest citation I have, one of my papers has been cited 95 times. The year I have published here, the first, this was last year. So my first publication was in 2014. And I have participated in almost 64 publications, maybe not as first author, but I've been part of them. So this one just shows also your work as a researcher. If you apply for a job and somebody, please mute. Okay, so if, let me see. Kavina, please help me mute. There's someone who is unmuted and they're interfering. So I want you to go and create a Google Scholar profile. Maybe you have 2 papers, 3 papers. Why don't you have a Google profile account, a Google Scholar account? It looks nice when you tell somebody, okay, just go on Google Scholar, you'll find my work there. Or you send them a link to your Google Scholar profile, and it sounds nice. So mine is to challenge you. Create accounts on this. The first I have done, that is Google Scholar. I will then show you the next one here, which is reviewer credit. Remember, I talked about reviewer credit, and I was telling you that I will also show you reviewer credit. So you just go and create an account on reviewer credit. So every time you review a paper, you go and register it there, so that you can get the certificate that I was showing you. Here I have logged in, so I'm just going to show you my profile here. And also you can redeem points. So they can give you points that you can redeem when publishing papers because they are working with certain journals. So there are journals that will accept their points. So they will tell you if you have some reviewer credits, you can redeem those credits and then we can publish a paper for you, maybe at a reduced article processing fee, or we can publish that paper for you, maybe for free, depending on the number of points you have. So go and create an account on reviewer credit. I don't know, on reviewer account. I don't know why it's not loading. I don't know whether it's the internet. But then I think you have seen what this looks like. So just go and create reviewer credits. It's a free account. Just go and create an account there, put your details, and you can synchronize it with ORCID so that, and then there's also Crossref integration. So it can be integrated with Crossref because Crossref is the one that offers these DOIs. I'm just going back so that I am sure that, I don't know why it's not showing what it should show. I don't know whether it's the internet or something. It should show you the profile of, you just build your profile and it will show the number of publication, the number of reviews you've done, and the certificate is also there under your profile and all these things. So mine is to challenge you to go and create these accounts. Maybe there are so many people who do not know them. So when you are talking about to these people and then you are showing them some of these things, also looks cool. Why not? So mine is to challenge you. I've also shown you the certificate that I got out of here. So I will not go there. I think it's bringing a lot of problems for no reason. The other one that I want to show you, for those who do not have ORCID, I want you to go and create an ORCID account and get an ORCID ID. These are free things. Why don't you have an ORCID ID? Someday you will want to submit a paper and they will ask you for an ORCID ID and you'll ask them, what is ORCID ID? I don't have it. So create an ORCID account so that you have your own ORCID ID, so that when you are asked for it, you don't start asking questions. You know what it is and you have it. So this is my ORCID account, but basically it's my like an online CV. If you just submit this, if you just send this link to somebody, they will always find all this. So biography, employment, the papers that I have published. If I have done any projects, it also. Yes, Claire. Hello, Claire.
Yeah. Are you sharing?
We are following you, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Are you sharing your screen?
I'm sharing the ORCID screen. I don't know whether that's what I'm sharing or not.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Yes, it's visible. Thank you.
Okay, so here I'm just showing you that you go and open and create an ORCID account so that you have your ORCID ID. This one is unique to me. Even if I have another person with another name, if I submit this to the journal will say, okay, you are both Nicholas or Outa, but the owner of this paper is this person based on the ORCID ID they provided us at the time of submission. Okay, so pretty much it's like my online CV. Professional activities that I'm reviewing for, and then the works here, these are the publications. It has all of them. So anytime you publish a paper, and even you give a talk, like the one I give at the University of Nairobi, there was a workshop at the University of Nairobi that I gave, it takes all this. Imagine the use of open access research solutions to improve academic life cycle, and even the papers that you publish, it brings all of them here. So pretty much people get to know all these things. You don't have to, it's just one account that has everything. Then the other one that I wanted to show you is about me. There's an about me page here. You need to create what we call an about me page. As I was telling you, you don't have to be everybody. When somebody asks you for your bionet, you have to be typing and sending. No. Just create an about me page that you can easily send somebody a link and tell them, hey, just go onto that link. I have a brief, I have a brief description about myself. So you can easily go and check it out and see what you need and pick what you need. So I'm just going to log into my About Me page using my Google account. And then you will see what it looks like. It's like a very simple page that talks about you. So these are things as a researcher, you don't want to be, and I have it as a signature on my email. So if I send an email to somebody, this About Me link is there. So somebody can easily just click on it and then go and read about me. Why not? So these are simple things that enhances your visibility as a researcher. And I know most people take them for granted. Don't take these things for granted. There are these little things that sometimes could make the difference. So I'm just trying to see. Okay, so you see, this is my About Me page. So I have anything you can add, like a photo here or a video just introducing yourself. And then now I have a video here introducing myself and what I do. And then I have just a bit of an introduction. Who am I? What I have done, what my research interests are, my contacts, and also if somebody wants to book a training session with me, for example, in scientific writing, so basically, this is just a place where instead of always sending Word documents to people, you tell them, okay, I have an About Me page, go and check what is there, see what is relevant to what you want to use it for, and then just go and check it out. Then the other one that I also want to show you a little bit here is just about my LinkedIn profile. There's nothing much there, but I just want to show you because people take these social media things for granted. Remember, I was showing you an example. I think the first thing that has come up is, what are you seeing on LinkedIn, the page I'm sharing? Hello?
We are seeing the
hello, sir.
Your home.
Well, I see research capacity, early career researchers. I see TCC Africa Training Center in Communication.
So basically, okay, this is now is coincidental, but anyway, TCC Africa is live on LinkedIn right now. So why are you not on LinkedIn just posting what you do so that people get to also follow? Because for me, if you come to my LinkedIn profile, you see the way it has also been done. So I have my name here. Then I'm a PhD scholar and consultant in fish and aquaculture. I mentor scholars in scientific writing. I am the founder of Writing Hub Africa and Dala Internet Aquaculture Hub. I'm an academic editor +1. I'm also a social entrepreneur. So just on LinkedIn, I have already introduced myself without using a lot of words. But then when you come down here just to, this where you now do a little bit of a detailed information about yourself so that if somebody wants to, I don't know what is happening. I don't know when it's my internet. Then based on what I post, so sometimes when we go for exhibitions or we go to the field to collect some data, I don't reveal a lot of details because sometimes some information can be sensitive. Let's say maybe you are working with a project and the project does not want you to indulge a lot of information out there. You can just, give a tidbit of what you are doing. Currently, we are working on the efficacy of this, or we are looking at this, or we are looking at this, without giving too much information away. That helps so that people know what you are passionate about, or what your research is focusing on. If people interact with you online and they have no idea what you are doing, sometimes there could be opportunities that could be interesting to you, but they don't know what your interest is about. So they could end up giving these opportunities to someone else. But if they have been seeing you posting about aquaculture, they have been seeing you posting about, let's say, food insecurity, for example, they have been seeing you posting about agricultural production, or horticulture. If there's an opportunity about horticulture, then they say, okay, this is an opportunity about horticulture. I know somebody on Facebook, on LinkedIn who posts a lot about horticulture. So let me reach out to them. I've seen a project, and this project is talking about contraception. Oh, I've seen this researcher who talks a lot about contraception on Facebook. Why don't I reach out to them? Because at least they have someone to start working with, okay? So you see, this cover photo is just about aquaculture. So it shows that I'm related or I'm interested in the field of aquaculture. You can find a way of making it also speak to what you do, what you want people to identify you with. Now, the other thing is about when you are posting photos that have people's faces, ask for their consent. I don't want, maybe we went with you somewhere to the field and you posted something and then somebody tells me, oh, okay, I saw you in Bondo. You are collecting data in Lake Victoria. Then I say, how did you know? Then somebody says, okay, I saw so-and-so posted that on Facebook or so-and-so posted that on LinkedIn. I will not be happy. So when you want to post something, tell people, hey, I took some photos when we were in the lake. Is it okay for me to post because your faces are there? I just want to give people an idea of what we are doing in Lake Victoria. Then they will say, okay, there's no problem, just go and post. So it's trickier when you're working as part of a project, because if it's about your own information, then there's no problem. So here, then I've gone ahead to talk about me in more details here. And then you see, just give a few things about some posts here, just to show you how I post here, what. So that this is just to challenge you. It's not about that I know how then to do these things on Facebook, but on LinkedIn, but mine is just to show you how then you can utilize some of these platforms to make your work more visible. Okay, let me just give you something about some of the posts here. So this is where we were. This was during okay, let me just show all posts, because then that can also give us a perspective. Because people, this is where people see us, and online, this online appearance is very important. So this was at the International Investors International Conference. I was the one. Screen sharing is off. Am I not sharing my screen?
You are.
Someone is telling me that they cannot see my screen. Are you seeing my LinkedIn screen?
Yes.
So here I was just showing that I was at a conference.
But
sorry?
saying something went wrong while displaying this web page. It's saying a reload. You're not able to see.
I will stop sharing again. Okay, let me try to share again so that we are sure we are seeing it. Just let me know when you are able to see.
We can see.
I think we can see the screen now.
Okay, thank you. So I hope you saw the short ones that I have on the side, just under my name. I've written short things. So people write, just see what you want to write here, so that somebody reading your profile, even before they see, they know what to identify you with. So I'm a PhD scholar and consultant in fisheries and aquaculture. I mentor scholars in scientific writing. I'm the founder of Writing Hub Africa and Dala Integrated Aquaculture Hub. I'm academic editor at Plus One, and I'm also a social entrepreneur. I'm not saying that is what you need to write, but I'm just giving an example so that, as this is about researcher visibility. This is why I'm showing you. So that how visible are you in terms of what you do? So here we've also talked about, here I'm also talking about, I've finally completed my first complete draft of my thesis for review. These are just things that are talking about what you do, so that it's possible for people to get to understand what kind of research you do, and how when we publish papers, I also put those papers online. This is where I was harvesting some of the things from my research, aquaponics research system. So if somebody wants to talk about aquaponics, they know, Nicholas has been posting a lot about aquaponics. In fact, their research was on aquaponics. So if I have somebody asking me to do consultancy on aquaponics, so they want something on aquaculture, this is the person I need to reach out to. So mine is just to make you make sure you are visible and talk about topics that you want people to know you about. So here I was on a consultancy, I was consulting for an organization on fish cages in Lake Victoria. Just write something little. I'm not saying write too much information, but a little bit here and there. And also, this is where when I harvested, this is my data that I was going to eat. I was going to consume my data from the aquaponic system where I harvested fish and vegetables. So you keep posting things that are relevant to your field, and people will get to start identifying with them, and you never know where that goes. I will stop sharing this. There are so many other platforms that I don't want to go into. Up to there, before I get to the last, because we have like another 30 minutes to talk about two very important aspects of research. Up to there, I'm seeing a lot of messages. I don't know what they are, but I want to read through and see if some of them are questions. But then if you have any questions or anything else to say, please say it now.
Thank you for your very good presentation. I wanted to ask, there was a suggestion that was made earlier that you can start preparing your paper for submission. I mean, to be sent for publication, even when you're at the proposal level. So how do you go about then the data section if you are still at the literature review? Can the paper be sent that way? Or you have to wait, you are just preparing it as you are waiting to going to the field to collect data? Thank you.
Okay, who wants to have a go at that before I also weigh in? I think somebody would want to go at that. As I say, during these plenary sessions, I'm not the only one who's going to answer these questions. Anybody wants to guide? She's asking, we said you can start preparing for publication even before you collect your data. But then at this point, you still don't have any data. How are you going to handle that paper without any data? Anybody?
Okay, if I can try. Hello.
Yes, Franklin, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I think that you can start preparing, but the preparation is not like you are starting to write the manuscript. Sometimes when you have a research proposal which you feel that you want to publish that work, because sometimes we design research proposal for some reason. Sometimes people just design them to defend to have their end of year training, just to defend. They don't really care much about the publication. But if you are doing it at the back of your mind that you know that you want to publish it, you may start preparing, but not necessarily starting writing the manuscript, but start the preparation, which may mean that you want to check that the data collection tools that you're going to use is what can also compare with other researchers who have already worked on similar topics. You want to make sure that your methodology, you've read other methodologies, and you are making sure that your methodology should be acceptable with respect to what has already been done. So I think this is the kind of preparation you can be doing, but you cannot really, I don't think you can really start to write a manuscript when you have not yet gone to the field to collect data. But you can prepare in your mindset and actually design your proposal in a way to be reproducible by other researchers, in a way to be acceptable, so that it will be easy for you now when you have the data after the collection. It will be easy for you to use now the right tools, correct data in the right format, and now analyze and know that it will be comparable. So that's what I can say.
Thank you. Any other person with any other opinion? We were saying that you have to be smart about your publication, otherwise it may derail your graduation. But when I was talking about that, there are so many other statements that I made. Maybe I'm not going to talk about all of it again. Go to your university and ask them, is it possible for me if I publish a review paper like maybe a scoping review, or if I publish a systematic review out of the literature review section of my proposal, can the university accept that as a publication out of my thesis, out of my PhD work? Or does the university only allow me to publish work that has data? Literature review papers are a commonplace in research. People do a lot of review papers that do not have actual results section. I'll just want to show you an example of, I don't know whether I can get it here. An example of the paper that I published out of my review paper, out of my, let me see here. I'm just trying to check if I'm just trying to find out if I can get one of my. So review is part of research. There's what we call desktop research. So there are universities that will allow you that we know that if you wait until you have, yes, Ghislaine, I don't know how that name is pronounced. You have your hand up.
Yes, sir. No, just finish. I have a question.
Okay. So go and ask your supervisor or ask your university or your department and tell them, hey, I want to publish a scoping review out of the proposal that you approved. Can that count? Because review papers, people have published review papers. I'm just going to show you an example of my review paper that I published out of my PhD work, and it was accepted. I have now submitted a second paper with results, but the one that I published first was out of my proposal, and it does not have pretty much what we call results. The results that I have are the results of the review. Okay, so let me just show you an example. So this paper that I published last year was a scoping review that was exploring the potential of a aquaponic system in advancing food security in Kenya. And because my PhD was about the potential of a aquaponic system in enhancing food security in Kenya, so I say that before I report the how do you call it? The empirical data, I can now do a literature review and send out what we call review papers. Review papers are allowed, but then there are universities that will tell you that we don't allow you to, we will not count that as part of your PhD work. But yes, review papers can be published. So you can publish a review paper out of your proposal that has been approved for fieldwork, even as you wait to collect data. So some universities allow that. I'm not telling you to go and force your supervisors. Go and ask them and make it very clear to them that, hey, I know if I wait until I have empirical data, it might be too late. So is it possible for me to do a scoping review or a systematic review and then send it out for publication as I go ahead with my data collection and analysis, so that once I have the data, I will be sending the second paper, not the first one. Go and ask the university, they will give you guidance. Yes, you said you have a question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Excuse me, I'm Benin people, so my English will not be necessarily fluent. Thank you.
No problem. I can hear you. I can get you very clearly.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I would like to be grateful to you for the quality of your presentation. We really appreciate that. So my question is this. It is clear now that finding a job as researcher after a PhD is not a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So, on your point of view, how can we link other skills to our field of research Or how do you feel or think that we can invent our own niche of job? I don't know if my question is clear.
Your question is very clear, and this is how I want to answer it. There is academia, and then there is the business part of academia. You can be a doctor, you can be a medical doctor, but then you don't know how to make money out of the skill you have. You can be an engineer, and then you are waiting to be employed by someone. Or you can be an engineer, and you get employed in an institution, and then they pay you peanuts, and then you just stay there, but you have knowledge. It's possible for you to create jobs. And as I said, I do a lot of consultancies out of referrals. So people refer me to, some of this, and then I do consultancy. So what I want to tell you is what happens is in your specific field, there is a specific niche within your field. I have a lot of interest in aquaculture production systems, but I also have a lot of interest in training people in scientific writing and communication. So out of that, I have created 2 companies. One of them is called Writing Hub Africa, that now partners with TCC Africa to train people on TikTok. So there's a TikTok channel that is called The Simple Academic. That is a partnership between my company, Writing Hub Africa, and TCC Africa, where we mentor and train. It means that I identified a niche and identified something that is interesting to me, and I created something out of it that can now earn me something on the side. I am an aquaculture scientist. I am doing my PhD in aquaculture. I created a company called Dala Integrated Aquaculture Hub, where people train. I train people in how to grow integrated fish. If they want things to do with aquaculture, if they want to establish aquaculture farms, I go and help establish with them as a consultant. I go out training farmers. I write project proposals for funding just out of that writing, that company that is called Dala Integrated Aquaculture Hub. I hope you now see how then I can now create, even as I look for employment. I'm not employed. I'm a part-time lecturer in a university, and part-time sometimes do not pay. So after PhD, it's up to you. And that's why we are saying, during your PhD time, learn as much skills as you can. Also, as many skills as you can. Learn how to write proposals for funding. Learn how to respond to consultancies. Learn how to write these TORs, my understanding of the TOR, and all expression of interest. Learn how to write those things so that at the end of your PhD, you can work as a consultant. You can, be an expert. You can write proposal for funding, and then you can get funding and work with people. I am part of projects that I have participated in writing proposals for funding for. Yesterday, I was meeting certain 3 organizations, and we were trying to make a consortium where we can write a proposal for funding, so that when that money comes, it goes to my company it goes to my company, Dala Integrated Aquaculture Hub. So it's about aquaculture. So then you can start generating something out. It's difficult. Employment is a problem everywhere, including even in Kenya. So it's just about, after PhD, try to, if possible, to create convert the skills you gain during your PhD and your training into something that you can make money out of. I will allow Shodipe to say something, and then Sirajo, and then Odongo, in that order. Shodipe, I don't know whether I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're almost there. So, thank you for the presentation. Good morning, Okpoluwa Shedipe from Nigeria. And just to chip in a little bit, I don't know if I'm correct, but I just want to add to what you said concerning if probably you're working on a thesis and it's dragging a bit and you don't want someone else to put something out there before when you get to the finish line, and you discover it's too late. It might be a bad luck for you. So what what I've been hearing so far, I don't know if it's correct, is probably, and it's probably something you can talk about, which is doing having a preprint. I don't know if preprint of your research yeah, a preprint. You can have a preprint. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about preprints. Maybe I didn't give it a lot of prominence. I'll talk about it. But yes, preprints are also there. Different universities have different opinions about preprints. Some of them will say, okay, because it's not peer reviewed, it's just moderated. Maybe we don't recognize it. But the good thing is, like if you have a preprint on Africa Archive, then it's even available on Google Scholars. If somebody Googles your name or if they type the title of your paper, they will find it on the internet and they will even cite it. I have preprints that have been cited by people. So my work is out there. So even if somebody puts it out there, okay, this guy already published this as a preprint. And there are some journals that even accept papers that have been published as a preprint. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I'll address it a little bit in the second part. Then Sirajo.
Good morning to you all.
Good morning. Good afternoon now.
Thank you for this wonderful presentation, and I really appreciate your efforts. So my questions. I'm from Nigeria. Currently undergoing MSc Research in Sustainable Environmental Studies. So as an environmentalist, I don't know why some lecturers used to choose the topic. They will say just go and do this just within choose the topic that will take like just 3 months, probably assessment. So, and at the end of the day, they may not even try to assess you the way it's supposed to be. So, and actually the things goes difficult for me as a beginner in the research, because at the end of the day, it is almost twice that my proposal turned down. Though I later scaled through, but still, when I came to defense my final project, is like a second time. Now I'm trying to pass. I don't know why this happened, or what suggestion can you give me? Thank you.
Okay, so I think this is just, there's no one way of tackling this, but mine is, one of them is, these professors are supposed to guide. That's why they are your supervisors, and that's why they are your mentors. They're supposed to hold your hand and tell you, hey, this is how you are supposed to, when you write a proposal and share with them, they need to tell you, okay, this is where there's still a weakness. We are still seeing a gap here. Can you fill in this gap? Can you do this? Can you do this? So that when you go to your presentation, you will not have a hard time. But then if they just leave you there, and you are just starting out, it's difficult for you to move, because then you don't know what to do without proper guidance. So it's unfortunate that that has happened. But then, as I think was said at the beginning, of course, you are the one driving this vehicle, so you are in the driver's seat, but also you need guidance. That's why we have supervisors, just to also help you review your work and guide you on what needs to be done. I'm not sure how universities work, because in my university, people are even allowed to request, if you have a very compelling reason why you think your supervisors need to be changed. In my university, you just go to the director of studies. Then you tell them, hey, I have been sending emails to Dr. So-and-so, and sending emails to Professor so-and-so with my proposal. He has not commented. He has not been replying to my emails. So I am stranded. I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing or I'm doing the wrong thing. So is it possible for you to help me get a different supervisor? Or is it possible for you to talk to this person, be able to respond? So it depends on universities. Sometimes you also might end up sending those emails, or you make those claims. This person you are complaining to, whom you think was going to help you, makes things even difficult for you, because then they go and either confront this person, and this person now becomes an enemy. It's just complex. So I don't know how to handle that. It's a bit difficult for me. But then I think also when you attend such kind of trainings, then you also maybe can get a few tips here and there that can also help you navigate. The other thing that I also want to make clear is also at TCC Africa, we also offer one-on-one mentorship programs. So if you have a specific need that you have, maybe you really need guidance on a specific area, then you can also write an email to TCC. Then they can always organize. The only thing is sometimes when you are paired to, because there are several mentors at TCC, I'm not the only mentor there. So depending on the kind of your field, you might be paired to a different mentor who can help you tackle this. So you will find your way around it, but then if there is a dire need that you feel, okay, this is something that needs to be addressed, then maybe you can always reach out to TCC, then you can maybe get some help on the side in terms of mentorship. James, there's something, your hand is up.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Is your mentorship is free?
Sorry?
Thank you, Prof. Is your mentorship is free?
You can reach out to TCC because you know it's difficult. Let's say if TCC has to mentor every scholar for free and without anything, I think it will be also unsustainable because these are professors and doctors who are also busy with other things. So TCC either has to pay them or the mentee has to make some arrangements. But I think the best thing is for you to send an email, because then there are cases where TCC can have certain arrangements for scholars who maybe have special kind of needs. So just write an email to TCC and inquire and state the kind of challenges you have.
Thank you, Prof, for addressing all my my questions. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, James.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just to advise Siraj that in such a case where you have difficult supervisors, let him look for any students they have ever supervised or they are supervising, such that he can learn what they want. Because student to student learning takes place very fast. So let him not say that there's a challenge, there's a challenge. The alternative, let him look for the student whom they are supervising, those better supervisors, and he talk to, he will tell him what they want. And then he is able to move with his work. So my issue was the issue of someone who said, PhD, there is now no jobs. When you have a PhD, it's your PhD. People will not know what you have learned. So it is you to showcase people what you have learned. But there are two ways, there's someone, I heard it from another workshop like this one. Someone said that whenever you write a paper, endeavor to write a policy brief from that paper, addressing the core policy issues or policy challenges in that paper. I wrote one as a draft and I just shared a brief one. I didn't even know. It was on Liquid. Then someone from World Bank, one of those policy research, said there's a conference. You are trying to collect ideas in Africa, how to deal with the poverty and inequality. So I told him that I think I'm addressing the same thing. Said, yes, can you write it like this? So I wrote it and sent to them. So they are still considering whether to accept it. Then they'll publish in that World Bank policy document. Then there is also a workshop they are organizing for Africa. If it goes through, then I'll have to attend. So that is one way you can sell yourself after PhD. And then those stakeholders who are interested in that area, they will get you on board. The second one is what we call community engagement. Engage yourself in the community activities. From there, you will interact with the people. If there is a community run, people are doing a run, maybe to fundraise money, participate on those activities. And you will link up with the people, introduce yourself, and you tell them what you do. Tomorrow, they will tell you that there's some work for you, and then they will give you a job. For a PhD, you don't need to look for a job. You are the one to sell yourself and be able to get what? A job outside. Otherwise, Outa, thank you very much for this presentation you have done. It is so engaging and so there's a lot of learning every step you make a noise around there. So really we learn a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if there is no any other question, I want to do a very short presentation again, just as a conclusion, because I think we have learned so many things. We have discussed a lot of things, and sometimes also people have sat for quite some time. I'm going to do the next demonstration in a maximum of 20 minutes maximum, and then we will now have like another 10 minutes for just the entire plenary where we are going to discuss everything else. But then I think the bottom line is try to get that PhD. Try to get that PhD. I'm really struggling to get mine. I have been in the system for quite some time, but I'm getting mine this year. That's what I hope. So try to get that PhD, because that title also can open doors for you. So try as much as you can, however hard it is, try to get it. Okay. So I want to now talk about something here that I know maybe some of us who have attended some of our trainings have gone through. I want to talk about dimensions, because some people are asking, where do I get papers from? Some people are asking, if I want to write proposals, how do I know the people to to work with in consortium, or where do I get data sets from? I want to do my research, but then I want to get data sets, or so I just want to share one of the platforms where you can get to get papers, published papers that you can read, where you can get information about grants. You remember I was telling you that I'm also participating in writing grants, or proposals for funding, so that I can also grow some of these organizations that I have created on the side that are also just startups. Ideally for PhD, at PhD level, after your PhD, you need to think, and that's what I was thinking as I was doing my PhD. I was thinking, after my PhD, if nobody offers me a job, where will I go? Will I still again go back and start saying, oh, you see? So I said, I want to create something on the side. So then as I go through my training, I can start building it slowly by slowly. After my training, I can say, okay, I got some funding, maybe some good money. Can I just now focus on this and then be an employer and, just create a research, just grow it. Anyway, I just want to talk about this. So if you want to access dimensions, because some people say they find it difficult to get papers, they find it difficult to get data sets, they find it difficult to get policy documents, they find it difficult to get information on grants and projects, they find it difficult to get information on patents and clinical trials. I want to show you where you can get all that in one place, okay? So go to your browser, type the words Research for Life. Search for Life. Once you type the words Research for Life, just pick the first option that is up here. So this is the way you can access dimensions that I want to demonstrate. If you want to access dimensions AI and access all the components that I want to show you here, you can access it through Research for Life. How do I access Research for Life? Go to your librarian or whoever is in charge of knowledge management in your organization. Most universities in Africa, almost all universities have access to Research for Life. There are universities that have embedded dimensions directly on their library, so you don't even have to go through Research for Life. But I'm giving you the ideal way. Go and ask your librarian to give you login details that you can use to log into Research for Life. Once you have those credentials, just come and log in to Research for Life. When you log into Research for Life using the credentials that will be given by your librarian or whoever is in charge of knowledge management, just come and log in to Research for Life, because that is the only way you can be able to access dimensions and enjoy all that I want to show you. Look for login credentials from your librarian or whoever is managing knowledge at your institution. Once you log into Research for Life using those credentials, go to under content, click on content, and then click on databases. Log into dimensions, click under content, click on databases. So there are several databases. The database that I want us to look at is called Dimensions. So it's still loading, but then just scroll down. They are arranged alphabetically. Just scroll down under databases and click on Dimensions. Scroll down, click on Dimensions. So we are on Dimensions here. I will just close all these other, I think they are interfering with my speed. Log into Research for Life. Click on content. Click on databases. Scroll down. Click on dimensions. How many publications can you see here? Somebody?
Over 2 million. No.
Yes.
100
yeah, 152 million.
Yeah, 152 million.
52
So
million.
you see that on this platform, we have publications, we have data sets, we have grants, we have patents, we have clinical trials, and we have policy documents. I know these are things you can get elsewhere, but then that elsewhere, you will get them each, they are not, you will rarely find a database or a website where you can find all this at once. So that is why I was telling you that dimensions is a special space, because then here you can, if you want to just get data sets, okay, I want to publish a paper, but then I want to use data sets that were collected by other people. Maybe they didn't analyze them, they just uploaded them on this platform. As long as you say where that data is coming from, yeah, then you can use them. So we have data sets, grants, patents, clinical trials, and policy documents. I will only demonstrate using publications and grants. Then the others you can always go and check out on this website. So on the left, there are several filters that you can use. The first filter that you can use is you can filter by publication year. And I want to show you how far back we can go. We can go as far back as 1665. So you are doing a systematic literature review, and you want to show us that you are showing us the trend since 1940. So you can go back to 1940 and tell us, okay, I have data from 1940, I have information from 1952, I have information from 1920, I even have information from 1849. And this is how the trend has been. So I'm just showing you so that you see how far back you can go on dimensions, okay? But then, let's say we only want papers that were published between 2021 or between 2020 and 2025. Just click on the dots in front of the years that you want, and then click limit to. It means that it's now going to only limit your search to those specific years. You see, now we are down from 151 million to 37 million papers that were published between the years of 2020 and 2025. So that is one filter that you can use. Okay, that is one filter that you can use. I want to remove that filter, and then I want to filter by country. So which country do we, or territory do we filter by?
Kenya.
Kenya. Okay. So just type the country you want to filter by. Once you type the country, okay, click on that country and then limit to. Every time you apply a filter, just click limit to, because then it will limit your search to the filter you have applied. So we have filtered by Kenya. You could filter by Nigeria, filter by Botswana, by Ghana, Uganda, Sierra Leone, everywhere. But we filtered by Kenya. So we have filtered by Kenya. We have 85,000 publications that are relevant to the country of Kenya. So after filtering by country, you can go ahead and now filter by research organization. We want to see what are the top 10 research organizations in Kenya. See, we have University of Nairobi that has 15,000. We have KEMRI, we have ILRI, we have JKUAT, we have KU, we have ISIPE, Moi University. And then somebody would ask, why is University of Oxford appearing here? University of Oxford is appearing because it has so many researchers from Kenya are working with them. So there are several publications that also have University of Oxford as an affiliation. That's why it's appearing there. But then ideally it's just showing you. So let's say we want only papers from the University of Nairobi. You can click on the dot in front of University of Nairobi and you limit to that, okay? But then we can also go and filter by researcher. We want to see who are the top researchers, the top 10 researchers in Kenya. We have Elizabeth Ann Bukusi, we have Grace John Stewart, we have all those. So it shows you their level of impact as it goes down. You can even say, I only want papers by this researcher, then you limit to that. I'm just showing you how you can apply these filters. Now let's say we want to filter by research category, so field of research. So you say, okay, I want to look for a paper, but I want to look for a paper in a specific field of research. Which field of research are we looking for papers in?
Health sciences.
Sorry?
Health sciences. Health sciences.
Health sciences, yes. So just click on health sciences and then we limit to health sciences. So our filters are always up here. So we are in the field of, we are filtering by Kenya, and then we are filtering by the field of study that is health sciences. We have 15,555 papers that are relevant to Kenya, but are talking about health sciences. Now, after doing that filtration, you can filter by a lot of things on this side. You can even filter by journal list. You can even filter by open access. You can say, okay, I only want papers that are open access. You just click on all open access and say, I only want papers that are open access. Just click on that and then you limit it. So we are only talking about papers that are open access so that when you see that paper, you can be able to download it and access and read the site. That's why we are filtering by open access. Okay, so you see, we have these papers, but then we want to put certain keywords so that we are clear on what paper we want. So just come and click on the side and put keywords. What keywords are we putting here? Hello?
Oncology.
Oncology. Oncology is cancer.
Yes.
So maybe let's put a specific aspect of oncology, something, a specific thing about cancer.
Childhood cancer. Childhood.
Cancer screening. And prevention. Prevention.
Prevention.
Yes.
There's a C missing in the screening.
So then you just hit enter, the enter button, and see what comes up. So you see, it's easier because now we are filtered by Kenya. We have also filtered by a specific field, and then we have now put certain keywords. You see now we have all these roles and activities of nurses in cancer prevention and early detection in low and middle income countries. This is a scoping review. So let's say we have picked one paper. I don't know which paper, let's pick. Okay, let's pick this uptake and correlates of cervical cancer screening among women attending a community-based multidisciplinary whatever. So let's click on this. So that is the paper that is interesting to us. So I want you to see what dimensions we'll do once we pick the paper of our interest. You see what dimensions does. Here, if you click on this arrow, it will take you directly to the journal where this paper was published. I hope you know what this green arrow, this green button is. This one is on paywall. It's a browser extension that you add to your browser that shows you when a paper is available somewhere in open access. If you click on this arrow, it will take you directly to where you can download that paper. But then you see Dimensions has done, it has started by doing a summary for you. So this summary might not give you a lot of details about the paper, but it gives you an idea of what the paper is about and the main results. You see now, just a summary. In fact, this TL semicolon DR stands for too long, didn't read. So it didn't read it, but then it has picked out the main points. So Scholary, not Scholary, I'll talk about Scholary, but Dimensions has done for you like a summary of the paper so that you have to you understand what is in the paper, even if it's not too much, a lot of details, but you have an idea, you have an idea. Then there are what we call key highlights. So Dimensions has also gone out to pick out key highlights. You see, what are the key highlights from this paper? Even before you read the paper, it picks out like 4 key highlights from the paper that can give you an idea of what is in the paper. Even if you are not reading it into too much detail, you can pick out what are the key highlights from the paper. It also goes ahead to pick what we call top keywords, because then these top keywords within the paper can give you an idea. Okay, so this paper has something about HPV test. it has something about multi-disease screening, it has something about predictors, about family support. Okay, I think this is something that is interesting. So that is one thing that I wanted to show you about the dimensions, that it gives you a summary. So it gives you the main summary, key highlights, and top keywords. And on the right, you have the publication matrices. So you have the total publications, the recent publications. You also have altimetrics, where the paper was, maybe it was posted on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on X, all those things are there. But then I want to also show you that now dimensions now also allows you now to access the other papers that were cited. So this paper, the paper you are reading, cited 34 papers. All those 34 papers are given here as active links. So imagine through one good paper, you can now get linked to other good papers. So you don't have to do search over and over. So this is snowballing. So from one good paper, you are linked to another good paper, you are linked to another good paper, you see? That's how then it works. So that makes your literature search simpler, because then you don't have to always then. The other thing is also goes ahead and gives you the papers that have cited the paper that you are reading. The paper we are reading was published in 2022. But then in 2024, and I think also 2025, but let me just, in 2024, it was cited 6 times. It means that these people who cited the paper we are reading have given like a bit more updated information, because they cited the paper that you are reading. So imagine you can now be able also to see the papers that they cited. That is the good thing with dimensions, okay? I will leave that and go back to the main page and show you something. So that is about publications. The other things you can also just go and explore. I said it's difficult for me to explore everything in 10 minutes. So then the other thing is about grants. Grants are projects. I want to click on grants, and then you can see which country we want to filter grants by country. We want to see which grants are active in which country. So which country are we looking at now? We are done Kenya. Which country again now?
Ghana, please. Thank
Ghana.
you.
Okay, so when you click, then you click Ghana and limit to Ghana. So we are looking for grants or projects that are running in Ghana, so that you have an idea who is running what project. It could be interesting to you, and you would say, okay, I've seen you are running this project in this university or with these collaborators. Is it possible for me to be part of it? That's why this is important. So we have 1,418 grant information about Ghana. But then we can come back here and look at, we want projects that are active within specific years. So we want projects that are active between 2025 to 2029, because those are the ones that would be more interesting to us, the ones that are active. Otherwise, there are those that have ended. They could be important to us, but then we want, let's say you are interested in getting a job, or you are interested in working with some people in certain projects. So you want to see, are there projects that will be active between 2029 and between 2025 and 2029 that I can maybe part of. So we have 185 projects in Ghana that will be active between 2025 to 2029, and they are all listed here. Okay, then you can also go back and check who is the research organizations that are running these projects. So you have University of Ghana is running 54 projects, Kwame Nkrumah University, University of Cape Coast, then Makerere University is appearing there because I think they are doing a lot of work with Ghanaian researchers. But let's say you are only interested in projects that are running in the University of Ghana. So you can click, but then I don't want to go there. I just want us to look at projects in Ghana in general. So you can come here and even look at who is funding research in Ghana. The European Commission is funding research in Ghana, Bill and Melinda Gates, there's Fogati International Foundation. All these are the people funding research in Ghana. And you also want to see who is the most influential researcher in Ghana who has so many projects. Just come and click under research and you see this guy called Yao Asare Afrani or Lana Amosova. These are the people with projects in Ghana, for example. So these are things you can easily, and then let's say I am interested in this, or you can go and say, I only want projects in a specific field of research. This person from Ghana, which field of research are we looking at projects in? In which field of research? Hello?
Public health.
Public health. Let me see. Okay, public health here. Then we limit to public health. So we have 16 projects in Ghana that will be active between 2025 and 2029 in the area of public health. Okay, so let's say we can pick like this one: strengthening capacity of policy relevant life course independent research in Ghana. Let's click on that and say that is the one that is interesting to us. So once we click on it, we will see the funder is here. Then we can, of course, access the original description of the project. Then who are the investigators? The PI here is called Kwaku Poku Asante. Is from Kintampo Health Research Center. Then we have the co-PI is this guy and all these universities. And then you can easily also now get the research organization that is there. This is the research organization that is doing it. So it's possible for you now to look these people up and say, okay, maybe I can approach this person and tell them, hey, I am aware you are doing this project and it is related to what I'm doing, or I'm a student and I want to, my research is connected to this. Is it possible for me to get a chance at your university or in your project? So this is basically because you now have a lot of details. So when you approach them with details, because then it even gives you a summary of the project. So when you approach them, you know what to tell them about, okay? Or if you want to work with, as a consortium, you are trying to come up with a consortium, it's possible for you to know who has run or who is handling similar research projects in Ghana or whichever country you are interested in. And then you can partner with them or ask if they want to be, if they can allow you to be part of their consortium. Okay, so I think that is one of the reasons why I was sharing this. There's quite a lot you can do with this platform. Okay, now before I finish, now after getting these papers, you need to know how to read them, summarize them, and also cite them. Now, reading papers takes a long time. If you're doing a PhD, for example, you want to read 50 papers or 100 papers. I can imagine how long that will take you. So there's a tool that can help you summarize and read these papers, and that tool is called Scholary. It's an AI-based summarizer. I'm just going to show that very fast because it's part of our recurrent trainings that we do. So even if you will join any of if you join any of our trainings, you will be able to be part of it. But I just want to show you how then you can be able to access Scholary and how powerful Scholary is. So just go onto your browser here, and let me just show you here. Go onto your browser and type the following words, not following words, but the following letters. Scholary. When you type Scholary, there are two things that will come. There's the Scholary, the first one that says Scholary Knowledge Made Simple, and then there's what we call Scholary Article Summarizer. The Scholary Article Summarizer is a free software that allows you to summarize 3 papers per day for free. So it summarizes 3 papers per day for you for free. You don't have to pay anything. But if you want to summarize even 1,000 or as many papers as you want in a day without any restrictions, then you need to look for the first option. The first option is a premium version of Scholary. So as I said, you can go and try for free and summarize 3 papers every day, or you can go for the premium version. The premium version requires you to subscribe, and the subscription fee is $4.99 per month. So almost $5 per month. This is a discounted rate for researchers in Africa. So it is $4.99 per month. And with $4.99 per month, there's also what we call institutional subscription. So there's individual subscription and there's institutional subscription. So $4.99 per month, you can now be able to summarize as many papers as you want. But I'm also, as I said, I've also called upon you people to go and try the free article summarizer that can summarize for you 3 papers per day for free. And no one is charging you anything for that free summarizer. That one just summarizes those papers for you for free, 3 papers. Then you wait for another day, then summarize another 3 papers. So that one you can try for free. I'm just trying to log into my premium account so that I can show you how it works. It's taking a bit of some time here, but mine is to call upon you to try these tools. I'm just logging in. Let me just sign in here. So that so once you sign in, you can create a library. I know the research papers that you have are not just thrown all over your computer. I know there's a way that you arrange them either in folders or in put them in specific locations. It's the same thing when you have a library on Scholary. Your Scholary library, you can organize your Scholary library depending on the different thematic areas of your research. So maybe you are saying, okay, I'm going to store information based on the objective. So you say this is about food security, this one is about fish growth, this one is about aquaculture. So you can create libraries and arrange them the way you want. So how do you create a library? Just click on create library here. Then it gives you the chance to create a library. And then you can add, so let's say I have created a library here. Within that library, you can create folders within the library. Then somebody would ask, how then do I add papers to my library? Because if the papers are not on your library, then there's no way they're going to help you. There's no way you are going to summarize them if they're not on your library. So just click on here to import. Then there are several options. One of them is just to choose and upload files. So you can drag and drop, or you can click on choose files, this option. Then it will allow you to select papers from your computer and then upload them to Scholary. Then you can summarize those papers after uploading them. The second option is if you have a URL, let's say you have the DOI of a paper or the link to a paper, you can easily just paste it here. Scholary will access that paper and summarize it for you, but then it has to be open access. If you put the URL of a paper that is hidden behind a paywall, then Scholary will not be able to access that paper, because if it is hidden behind a paywall, how do you think Scholary is going to go behind the paywall to get that paper for you? So if you're going to put the DOI of a paper with the URL, it has to be open access. Then the other option is cloud storage. So maybe you have a paper that is stored on Google Drive, or you have a paper on OneDrive, or you have a paper on Dropbox, or you have a paper that you have kept on Zotero. You can easily just click on that, and then you can get your paper and bring it to Scholary, and Scholary will help you upload. So once you select it, you just click on import. Scholary will import. Now, let's say you have uploaded your papers, and now you have your library here. I'm just going to try and show as an example here. So all these papers, let me just see. Okay, there's something I want to show. So if you have, let me just see. I'm just going back to the main library so that okay, so I have several libraries, and let's say, let me just use this as an example. So let's say this is the library I have, and these are the papers that I have in that library. So if I have all this, I uploaded all this as papers, but now they are not papers. They are what we call summary flashcards, because when I open one, you will not see it as the original paper that I uploaded. You will see it as a summary flashcard. It will be a summary of the paper. Okay, so all these are papers, but now they have been summarized into what we call summary flashcards. They are no longer papers; they are now summary flashcards. Let me just show you. Okay, let me try here. Okay, so you see, like here, this is one of the papers that I have uploaded. So let's say I have 100 papers, and I've decided to start by reading this one. I just click on the paper that I want to read, and the summary will pop up. Okay. Now there are several other details that have been hidden away. All these details have been tucked away so that it does not interfere with the writing. But then the summary starts with what we call a snapshot. It gives me a snapshot of what is in that paper. Not a lot of details, but at least I have a snapshot. Then it goes ahead now to pick for me the 5 main points. So what are the key points from that paper? The key findings from the paper. It has gone ahead now to pick for me the key findings from the paper, and including even conclusions and all these other things. You can navigate from the left and go to the specific section. But then I want to go to the place that they are calling analysis. So I can analyze this paper that I'm reading further by under research comparison. It compares for me what this paper is talking about against what other researchers have found. Are there places where it confirms previous research? Which are those previous research that is confirmed? Is there places where it differs from previous research? What are those specific previous research areas that it talks about? Is there anywhere where it contrasts previous research? So let's say where it differs from previous research, I want to see which previous research does it differ with and how does it differ? Where it contrasts, I want to see. Where it differs, where it confirms, I want to see. So Scholary will get all that for you and many other things. And also you can enhance. Let's say, how do you want to see your summary? Okay, before I forget, time is also running out. There are also key concepts here. And these key concepts, if you don't know what dendritic cells are, when you click on it, when you click on that key concept, Scholary will give you a Wikipedia definition of that key concept so that you get to understand it. The other thing that I want to say is you can also ask the paper a question. So you can dig deeper and ask the paper a question. So let's say I want you to summarize this paper for me in 50 words, focusing on A, B, C, D, but let me just say, summarize the paper in 50 words. It will summarize for me this paper in 50 words, you see? Just picking the main points in 50 words or in 100 words, the main points from this paper, okay? Now, I can export this summary into a Word document that I can read when I'm offline, okay? I can export that library and read it when I'm offline. How do I export that library? Let me just show you before, so that we can. So let's say I want to, I can export as many summary flashcards as I want. So let's say I want to export all these papers so that I can read them when I'm offline. Maybe I have 100 papers I want to export. What I do, I just click on one and then I come and select all. So once I select all, I can click on export and say, I want to export as Word. So, or you can export as Word, as Excel, as Markdown, as PowerPoint, as Zotero, or even as inferences. But let's say I want to export as Word. Let me just download my literature synthesis. They could be 1,000 papers. I can just export all of them so that I have my summary in Word document, so that when I cannot access the internet, I can just go and open my Word document and say, okay, I have my summary in the house, so I can use it in the house. I'm just going to show you, I will stop sharing this and then share the summary that I have exported. So you can export as Excel, as Word, whatever you want, but I've exported as Word. And I just want to show you what it looks like when I export as Word. I'll see what I have. Okay, it's called literature synthesis. So let's say I want to export as Word, and so that when I'll be reading, I'm not reading from the internet, I'm just reading from the Word document that I have exported. So you see, all my summaries are now, each paper has now been summarized here. So this is the first paper, summarized very well, you see. This is the first paper, summarized very well. This is the second paper, the title is here, the snapshot, the key findings. The introduction has also been summarized for me. The methods have been summarized for me. The results have been summarized. That's the main results have been summarized for me here. The conclusion has been summarized for me. The analysis, where does it build on previous research, has been done for me here. Where does it differ from previous research, has been done for me. Where does it confirm previous research? It has been done for me. Then study compliance and all those things. Then the next paper has also been summarized. So I have the snapshot, the key findings, the objectives of that specific paper. The introduction has been summarized for me. The methods have been summarized for me. The results have been summarized. The conclusion has been summarized for me. Where does it build on previous research? Where does this differ from previous research? Where does it confirm earlier findings? And also even including future work. Then the next paper has been summarized for me. So all the papers, if I have 100 papers, I have 100 summaries. I will stop my presentation here because we are already past the time. But then this is the point where we are going to do a plenary. Everything in a few minutes, and then we wrap up this. If there's any feedback, if there's anything you want to talk about, please talk about that. Somebody is asking for my number. That will be provided here. I don't know why you want my number, but if it's for networking, no problem. If it's for sending me money, no problem. Yes, Agnes.
Thank you. I wanted to ask about Research for Life logins. So, are they in all the libraries worldwide, or they're just in Kenya? Because I'm a Kenyan living in Germany and I don't know whether in our school I can get those credentials.
No, Research for Life is only accessible to universities in Africa. You cannot access Research for Life outside Africa. It's for, I think, for middle and low income countries. So that's how, but then you can still access dimensions through just by typing dimensions AI on the internet, and it will still take you there. Okay. Any other feedback that somebody has? Somebody talks about, there's quite a bit. Let me see here. We'll read a few of them. I'll start from here.
Yeah.
Please, Mr. Who have just talked. Okay, somebody was asking, please. Okay, somebody. How do you reach dimensions from Research for Life? I think this is answered. Just go and ask your supervisor, your university librarian to provide you with the login details for Research for Life. Each university has their own unique login details. Yes, Rudo. Rudo Chiramba.
How are you? I wanted to comment on Agnes' request. My library is not a university library. So I think as long as they're in the academia field, I think they can register on Research for Life and become members.
Yes. I have several institutions even in Kenya that are not academic, but they are research institutions, and they have access to Research for Life.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you so much on this. It was actually an eye-opening training. I think I enjoyed so much. I don't know, am I able to contact you personally? Maybe if I want to know more things after I've gone through all the training material, because I yesterday there were some lessons which I missed because of internet connectivity.
There is no problem. The only thing is I think sometimes, and this is a fact we have to live with, sometimes you reach out to some of us, and we are also having other things to do. You know, I've seen people calling me, sending me texts, and then they're saying, Nicholas, it's so frustrating. I've been telling you to guide me on this, but then they also don't appreciate the fact that there's a lot of things to do. So sometimes I have seen people reaching out with a lot of entitlement. They say, I attended the training that you facilitated at TCC. You don't want to explain this to me. Then I tell them, hey, write an email to TCC, make it official if that is how you want to approach me. So if there's, I have no problem explaining something that maybe was not clear. That's not a problem. But then sometimes if you reach out with a lot of entitlement, it becomes a problem, because then I also have other things to do. So it's allowed that you reach out. Why not? There could be something that is not very clear, and you say, okay, this I saw, but then there's a bit of it that maybe was not very clear. Is it possible for you to maybe just explain to me a little further? Those are things we can arrange. But then you realize I have to sit down, organize my internet, sit down, put aside whatever I had planned to do. So if I tell you, then is it possible for us to meet in the evening after I'm through with my work, maybe from 7 or from 6, and then you say, no, it has to be during the day. Why don't you want me to meet with you in the evening? I will be busy in the evening. You will be busy in the evening, but then I'm trying to assist. So I have seen this a lot with some people who attend some of these trainings, and then after that, they are sending me emails or messages, and they dictate how I need to engage with them. My advice is write an email to TCC, tell them the kind of problem you have, and then they can be able to guide you to the right person to guide you. But I'm not saying you cannot approach me. Why not? That's also the way we can also network. It can go beyond the training. People can network out there and say, okay, I have a project I'm working on. I see you are conversant with aquaculture. There's something I saw. This is also where I also get to network with people. So why would I tell people not to send me emails? Why would I tell people not to send me messages on WhatsApp? I think that will be also locking myself out on interacting with people and networking. Why not? I would want to get somebody to work with in Sierra Leone. I want to get someone to work with in Ghana or in Uganda or in South Africa. Why not? These are the places I interact with people. The bottom line is, yes, you can contact me on WhatsApp. You can contact me on my email.
That's okay. Thank you so much. I've noticed you are just somebody who is wide range and you are all over apparently, because I'm also into research data management. I actually loved it that you are well versatile with this web of sciences, review credits, OCID, and then this scholarship. I think I'll get in touch. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think if anybody has anything else to ask, I think I shared my number, but then it did not go. So I'm just sharing it here.
Please, can you also share the website? Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation.
Which website?
That we can easily reach TCC.
Oh, the TCC email is here. Maybe Kevina, if you, okay, it's already here. So there is the email here, but also we also have.
Apart from the email, what of the website link?
The website link. Kevina, please share the website link. Now I have seen someone, Erickson, your hand is up.
Yeah, yes, Prof. So mine is just to extend a handful of appreciation for the C session. And it was just a suggestion that if it were possible, now that we've met in this platform, is there a way that we can come up with our own technical working group so that in case even we are lobbying for funds, yeah, and trying to fundraise to maybe implement a specific project, we can become as a group. I mean, we can be members who are in this group, who will be like participating in the same, and maybe have some technical expertise from people like you guiding on how to go about the entire process. Thank you.
Okay, we have the TCC working groups where people do all these things. The experience I've had with us coming as groups in this, what I always say is you can easily reach out to people specifically, or I don't know, sometimes when we make groups and then people are just there and nobody's doing anything, people are just quiet, the group is quiet, and then finally you see people exiting. But mine is, I like networking because it is through networks that I get to know there are opportunities elsewhere. I can also be able to now link even the other friends of mine. So networking with me personally, I have no problem with that. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I have and also our TikTok channel. And by the way, this is a very personal appeal. Please go and follow our TikTok channel. It's called The Simple Academic. And also we have live sessions where we talk about all these things every Thursday and every Sunday. So just go and check it out on TikTok. It's called The Simple Academic. There are several educative videos there. And then also talk to other people to also follow us. I want to stop this thing here. We can't exhaust everything. We have to stop it here because I know we've been sitting for quite a long time. I want to allow Kevina to make the final announcements as we stop. Yes, Kevina.
Thank you so much. Yes, Nicholas, I'm here.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, I would like to extend a very heartfelt thank you to all of you for dedicating your time for this training, and also to our brilliant trainer, Mr. Outa, for his engaging presentations. We are very fortunate to have had you guide us through this learning journey. Then, as we wrap up, I want to emphasize, just as Mr. Outa said, that TCC Africa is here for you. We are ready to support and empower you in your research journey, just beyond even the trainings. So I shared a link to our community, which consists of other researchers, both early career and established. And here you can get personalized support from our mentors in whatever stage of your research that you're in. and also have access to tools and opportunities for your research life cycle. So in the chat box, I have also shared a couple of resources. It's titled TCC Resources for Researchers, which includes our academic podcast. We have a podcast that you can listen to as you go about your day, and the scientific videos on TikTok, as Mr. Outa pointed out, it's called The Simple Academic. And we also have an archive of recordings of our previous events and even trainings on a platform called PubPub. So feel free to explore and share these resources, and to also contribute or share resources that you come across out there that you feel will enrich other members in our WhatsApp communities. The other thing is, if you wish to leave feedback for the training, please do so through the feedback form that I shared in the chat or on social media to increase the visibility of these opportunities to also other researchers. And then last thing, I mentioned this before, but the notes and the recordings will be shared after the training, and the certificates will also be available for those who attended both training days. The presentations and the recordings will be shared tomorrow, and the certificates by Monday this coming week. So if you do not get your certificate by then, please let me know through the admin email that I have shared in the chat. So once again, thank you so much for your contributions and for your time. We hope to see you in our future events and in our WhatsApp communities. So I'm going to give about a 3 minutes allowance for you to get whatever information you need from the chat. You can add your LinkedIn profiles if you wish to follow each other. I guess you can also just go to the links, get the attendance list if you didn't earlier. I'll also add, okay, the feedback link. I will add that just now. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice evening or morning or afternoon. Thank you.